I waking up on the hardest bed known to mankind, staring at walls blacker than my future. My brain was downloading memories like a sketchy torrent file, and let me tell you, the results were not pretty. I transmigrated. Cool, right? Wrong. I landed in the body of some village idiot hunter on the butt end of the Great Yu dynasty. This dude was so broke that his entire furniture collection was literally nothing. One blanket. No mattress. Just vibes and a rock-hard sleeping platform. And my outfit? Oh, buddy. No pants. Just a leopard print leather skirt and a matching jacket. I looked like Tarzan's weird cousin who shopped at a discount cave. Going full commando with the breeze hitting places the breeze should never hit. But here's the real kicker. This absolute caveman somehow had a drop-dead, gorgeous wife. Like, supermodel level beautiful. And what did she do when he went stupid? She grabbed her stuff and bounced. Just dipped. Gone. Poof. Shame she left before I got here. I sighed. Could have at least said hello. Then the door creaked open and in walked San Yang, my dead brother's widow. She was gentle, pretty, and carrying a bowl of medicine like some kind of angel. She touched my face all sweet and said, "Come on, little Wuji, drink your medicine." Her hand was so soft my whole body got goosebumps. Quick backstory on this lady. She married my brother 2 years ago, except the dude was basically already dying. They carried him to his own wedding. The families thought marriage would cure him because apparently, wedding magic was the local healthcare plan. Spoiler alert, it didn't work. He died 2 months later. They never even had a wedding night. Poor woman. So now it's just us two losers. She lost her husband. I lost my wife. Real sad roommate energy. I chugged the medicine and immediately remembered something terrifying. We had no food. Zero. The rice jar was emptier than my bank account. And worse, the government had come knocking for taxes. If I couldn't pay up in a few days, they'd drag me off to the border for forced labor. And that place? People who go there basically never come back. It's basically a death sentence with extra steps. No food. No money. Taxes due. I wanted to file a complaint with whatever cosmic department handles transmigration. This wasn't a starting from scratch situation. This was starting from underground. I go. Hunt. I mumbled, keeping up the village idiot act. I needed time to figure out how to stop being crazy without freaking everyone out. Sanyang tried to stop me. You can't even find your way home. How are you going to hunt? But I grabbed a bough, some rope, and a wooden spear off the wall and bolted out the door before she could argue. Look, I might not be a gentleman, but I refused to let this sweet woman starve. She'd been keeping both of us alive while I was drooling on myself. The least I could do was bring home dinner. The village was tiny, maybe 30 houses total. I cut through and dove straight into the mountains. Luckily, the original owner of this body had been running around these hills since he was a kid, so I had a built-in GPS in my head. I was scanning everything like a human radar dish: sky, ground, bushes. Anything edible was getting caught today. Then, crossing a shallow pond in the mountains, I spotted something scuttling sideways through the water. Wait, is that a crab? Up here. I couldn't believe it. I always thought crabs were lake creatures at minimum. But there they were, just vibing in a mountain puddle like tiny armored freeloaders. Don't care what species you are. If you're a crab, you're food. I jumped in. No net, no bucket, no plan, just raw hunger energy. I flipped over a rock and snatched one right up. Quit hiding, you sideways little punk. First crab, captured. I tied it up with grass like a tiny prisoner of war and tossed it in a rock pile. For the next 2 hours, I became the world's most determined crab hunter. I flipped every stone. I checked every hole. I was possessed. Hunger does things to a man. Final score, about 20 crabs, various sizes, and 4 eels I pulled out of holes with my bare hands. Enough for 2 meals. Came up here hoping to fill my belly. Ended up eating fancy. I was grinning so hard my face hurt. Then I looked up and came face to face with something standing straight up, flicking its tongue at me. Well, crap. So there I was, having a romantic staring contest with a snake hanging from a tree. Real intimate stuff. The kind of eye contact you usually save for a first date. Then that black racer snake decided to yindy the moment by dive-bombing straight at my face. Just launched itself like a scaly missile aimed right at my nose. Did I panic? Nope. I stuck my arm out like a human shield and let it bite me. On purpose. Because here's the thing. I recognize this idiot. Black racer snakes aren't venomous. This dummy brought teeth to a brain fight. The second it clamped down, I grabbed its head with 2 fingers like a vice grip, pried its mouth open, and went, "Bite me? Do you even know who I am? Go ahead, chew all you want. What are you going to do about it?" Then I tied it in a knot. A literal knot, like a shoelace, and bonked it with a rock. Look, I'm not proud of it, but dead snakes are easier to carry than angry ones. That's just science. And honestly, black racer snake is delicious. Cook it with rice wine, and people will be begging for seconds. Plus, it's got medicinal properties, good for joints and circulation. I wasn't just catching dinner, I was catching pharmacy. I wove a janky basket out of vines, stuffed it with leaves, and threw all my loot in there. Crabs, eels, snake, the whole buffet. Tom was still on my side, so I poked around some more. No more snakes, but I found something even better. A giant salamander. Back in my previous life, touching one of these would land you in prison faster than you could say, endangered species. But here in ancient China, that's just a fancy 5-pound dinner that screams like a baby. Creepy sound, amazing taste, and supposedly great for the skin. Perfect gift for Sanyang. Catching it nearly killed me though. I was sweating buckets chasing this slippery monster around. One salamander. 2 hours of cardio I didn't sign up for. With my haul secured, I headed back down the mountain. The village appeared through the trees, smoke rising from chimneys, looking like a painting. Very scenic. Very poetic. But you know what? Poetry doesn't fill stomachs. When you're broke and hungry, even a sunset just looks like the kitchen lights shutting off. On my way in, half the village came running to see what the local idiot dragged home. Everyone was crowding around, pushing and shoving to get a peek. So I pulled out the snake. The crowd scattered like I'd thrown a grenade. People were tripping over each other trying to get away. "WJI? Are you crazy? That's a venomous snake," someone screamed. Not venomous," I said, waving my bitten arm around like a trophy. "See? I'm not dead." Everyone's jaws hit the floor. Then this grumpy middle-aged guy, my Uncle Chinbushi, the village's only scholar and a permanent exam failure, marched over with a face like a funeral director. "You're probably gonna die tonight," he said cheerfully. "Come by my place, I'll give you some ointment. Whether you survive till morning is between you and God." What a charmer. "Also," he added, his tone suddenly serious, "go home first. That scumbag Yuan Lauer was lurking around your door all afternoon. No idea what that rat is scheming." My heart dropped into my leopard print skirt. I said one loud, "Okay," and sprinted home. The door was wide open. I tore through every room. No Sanyang. She was gone. I threw down my basket of goodies, grabbed my wooden spear, and bolted toward Yuan Lauer's house like a man possessed. His place was on the nicer part of the village, up on the plateau where people with actual land lived. Meanwhile, us broke hunters lived halfway up the mountain like discount hobbits. I had to run downhill at full Olympic speed to get there. His brand new wooden door was shut tight, and from inside, I could hear it. A woman struggling, screaming, fighting. I didn't knock. I kicked that door open like it owed me money. Inside, I could hear everything. Sanyang was yelling, "Yuan Lao, what are you doing? Let me go." And this absolute garbage human was going, "Why? Little lady, why do you think I've been lending you grain? The first time I gave you food, you should have been smart and crawled into my bed. But no." I said, "Let me hold your hand." And you told me to get lost. My face went from angry to volcanic. I kicked in the bedroom door, flew onto the bed platform, and planted my foot directly into Yuan Lauer's face. He'd been pinning Sanyang down trying to rip her clothes, and he turned his head just in time to catch my heel with his entire skull. His neck almost did a full 180. I grabbed him by the collar, hauled him off the bed, and started raining punches on his head. Left, right, like a human washing machine set to destroy. "You wanted to hold her hand? Here, hold mine. Hold it real good." I was seeing red. Full berserker mode. I'd inherited the original body's memories and his feelings for Sanyang. This woman had been keeping us alive, taking care of a drooling idiot out of pure kindness, and this cockroach thought he could use a bag of grain to force himself on her? I wanted to peel his skin off and use it as a doormat. Yuan Lauer was so scrambled, he didn't even know who was beating him. My fists were coming in like a hailstorm, and his brain was just buffering. When he finally focused his eyes and saw it was me, the village idiot, oh boy, he got mad. You moron. I lent you grain. You'd be dead without me. And you dare hit me. He ripped his arm free and swung at my face. Cute attempt. I caught his fist midair like snatching a fly. He pulled. He yanked. He wiggled. That fist was not going anywhere. Thank you, I said, very politely, very sincerely. Then I punched him so hard his ancestors felt it. Because thank you was all he deserved for thinking a bag of grain bought him the right to assault Sanyang. You absolute dumpster fire of a human being. I went full rain mode on his face. Blood turned his yellow teeth red. Then those teeth started falling out like autumn leaves. 1, 2, 3, just bouncing off the floor like tiny, disgusting tic-tacs. Yuan Lauer's eyes went full screensaver. The man could barely stand. Sanyang grabbed my arm. Wuji, stop. We need to go. You'll kill him. Yes, I said, still in character. Kill him. Because listen, if you're a crazy person beating someone up, you commit to the bit. Crazy people don't stop when asked nicely. Sanyang paused for a second. I think she noticed I'd been speaking pretty clearly during the rescue, but then I went back to caveman mode. She talked herself out of being suspicious. Good. She yanked me away, and I reluctantly let go. Shoved Yuan Lauer onto the bed where he flopped out like a starfish. Then I looked at his crotch. And I kicked it. Hard. The nearly unconscious man suddenly came very much alive. He let out a scream that could curdle milk and curled up like a shrimp. A shrimp that deeply regretted every life decision. Go, go, go. Sanyang grabbed my hand and physically dragged me out. By the time we got home, it was pitch dark. Sanyang was gripping my hand so tight, fumbling around to light the oil lamp. Wuji, is your hand okay? She grabbed both my hands and flipped them over and over, checking every finger like I was made of glass. I shook my head, but inside I was melting. 2 lifetimes I've lived, and this was the first time anyone genuinely worried about me like this. It felt weird. It felt warm. It felt like eating honey straight from the hive. Also, her hands were so soft, like holding a cloud that someone taught to be a person. She pulled me over to this broken water jar in the yard and started washing the blood off my hands. We were standing really close. Really close. I could feel her breath on my neck, warm little puffs that made my brain short-circuit. If there had been better lighting, I probably could have seen, well, things under her short linen top that would have made my remaining brain cells surrender completely. This woman's figure was absolutely criminal. Curves in all the right places. I was 90% sure she had those cute little dimples on her lower back. Focus, Wuji. Focus. While washing my hands, she started talking, her voice all soft and guilty. Today was my fault. I didn't know Yuan Lauer had ulterior motives when he offered us grain. I thought he was just being kind. Then she paused. And what she said next almost broke me. If there's trouble, I won't drag you into it. But you'll have no one to cook for you. Wuji, listen to me. If something happens, don't worry about me. Find someone in the village to take you to the city. You can beg for food there. At least you'd survive. She was planning her own exit strategy, so I wouldn't get hurt. This angel of a woman was ready to sacrifice herself so a drooling idiot could go be a beggar in peace. My nose started stinging. I protect you. It's fine, she laughed softly. I know. My Wuji is very brave. My Wuji. She said my. I was emotionally deceased. Here's what she was really worried about, though. Yuan Lauer's older brother was the village chief. That's why that cockroach strutted around the village like he owned the place. His big bro was the local law. Did I care? Absolutely not. Look at my life. I own nothing. I had nothing to lose. Worst case scenario, I grab a knife, grab Sanyang, and we go full Bonnie and Clyde across the countryside. I shook my hands dry and rushed to grab my afternoon haul from under the eaves. Carried the whole basket into our tiny kitchen. Food here. Sanyang had just brought over our 1 oil lamp and was sorting wild vegetables in the dim light. Her dinner plan was basically weeds mixed with tree bark boiled into a soup. Technically filling. Actually disgusting. And guaranteed to create digestive protests. She looked over at my basket. Saw the crabs still wiggling their legs and waving their claws. Her face went white. Silly Wuji. You can't eat those. They'll kill you. I blinked. Since when do crabs kill people? Nobody knows what these creatures are. Not humans, not even ghosts. They're used to ward off evil spirits. Why did you bring them here? Throw them out right now. I stood there, completely speechless. So that's why catching them was so easy. It wasn't because I was some gifted crab hunter. It was because nobody in this entire era eats crabs. They thought crabs were some kind of demon-repelling supernatural artifact, like a scaly sideways crucifix. Long-term renewable food source. Unlocked. I've heard honey or sugar can neutralize the poison so you can eat a little, she added, but we don't have either, so please just throw them away. No, throw, I said stubbornly. Can eat. Won't die. You will die. Won't. We're hunters. God. Trying to explain food science while pretending to be an idiot was like solving calculus with oven mitts on. My tongue was doing backflips, trying to sound dumb and convincing at the same time. I know we're hunters, but even hunters, she started. Eaten before. I blurted out. Clear. Loud. Decisive. She froze. Really? You're not lying to me? I shook my head frantically. Eat. Many times. And then a thought hit me like a brick. Why the hell was I still pretending to be stupid? What was the point? I was out here trying to convince a woman that crabs are food while talking like a broken GPS. This was the dumbest commitment to a bit in the history of human performance. After my absolutely masterful gibberish explanation, Sanyang finally agreed to try the crabs. She put the eels and snake away in a jar for later and steamed the crabs like I told her. Then she picked up the giant salamander and gave me this look. You absolute weirdo. Look. This thing. We really cannot eat. I stared at her. What now? It's a dead child that turned into a vengeful spirit. It's cursed. We absolutely cannot eat this. I'm sorry, what? Actually, our family is already so cursed that bringing it inside doesn't even matter anymore. But if you ever want revenge on someone, just throw one of these into their house. They'll have to spend a fortune on purification rituals and probably hire a priest. I stood there in total silence. These people, these incredible people, they had taken every single delicious thing in the wilderness and invented a horror story about it. Crabs? Evil spirit repellent. Giant salamander? Ghost baby. What's next? Shrimp are tiny demons. Are mushrooms haunted? Back in my previous life, eating wild giant salamander would land you in actual prison. Here, the government doesn't care, but the people turned it into a supernatural villain. The irony was physically painful. Eaten it before, I said firmly. Tasty. Very, very tasty. Sanyang's eyes went huge. Then suddenly a light bulb went off in her head. Possibly the worst light bulb in the history of ideas. WJI, what if you went crazy because you ate the ghost fish? That's probably what happened. If that's the case, we can fix you. We just need to save up money for a few exorcism ceremonies. I wanted to pinch the bridge of my nose so bad. This woman's logic just did a triple backflip off a cliff. In her mind, 8 cursed fish brain broke explains everything. Case closed. Nobel Prize in Ancient Medicine. I shook my head desperately. No, that is not what happened. But my denials were useless. To her, my current state was basically, this fool ate a demon fish, of course he's broken. Look at him, he can't even finish a sentence. It is the ghost fish. Wuji, I'm sure of it. We need to save money for the rituals. She was beaming. Her smile was so bright it could power a small village. She was so happy she found the diagnosis. Then she jumped on me, arms around my neck, bouncing up and down like a kid who just found out school was canceled. I stood there silently enjoying the hug while also dying inside. Because my real problem was, how do I convince this woman to eat the ghost fish? It's delicious. It's filling. We're starving. I've had the farm version in my past life, and it was incredible. This 5-pound beauty could feed us for days, and she wanted to bury it. With our financial situation, throwing away a 5-pound fish was like a homeless person tossing out a winning lottery ticket because the paper looked suspicious. Wuji, you'll get better. I promise. You will get better. She let go of my neck, turned away quickly to wipe 2 little tears from her eyes, then grabbed the basket. I'm going to bury this ghost fish somewhere, then we'll eat. Tomorrow, I said quickly. 2. Dark. She peeked outside, saw nothing but pitch blackness, hesitated, and nodded. Fine. I'll put it outside for now. I didn't push further. I understood. The word, cursed, in ancient people's minds was like seeing a police car in your rearview mirror. Doesn't matter if you did anything wrong, your heart rate triples. She came back in and pulled out the steamed crabs. Now, this was a time period with basically 0 seasoning options. My kitchen had exactly 2 spices, chunky rock salt and homegrown peppercorns, neither of which you even use for steamed crab. So what we had was the most authentic crab experience possible, just pure naked crab with absolutely nothing on it. But after starving all day, I bit into that first crab, and my tongue nearly divorced my mouth from sheer joy. It was the most delicious thing I'd ever tasted. The fishiness? Couldn't even detect it. My taste buds were too busy throwing a party. I demolished one crab at hurricane speed, then noticed Sanyang still sitting there, nervously poking at a crab leg like it might bite her back. I cracked open another one and handed it to her. Eat. It's good. She took a deep breath, her empty stomach versus her fear of evil spirits. The stomach won. One bite of crab roe and her eyes lit up like fireworks. Wuji, this is actually amazing. Even if it is poisonous, I don't care anymore. She bit into a crab leg with the ferocity of a woman who'd been eating tree bark soup for weeks. I chuckled. Not poison. Once you taste crab, all doubts evaporate. That's just universal law. The real tragedy was that salamander sitting outside in the dark, sentenced to death by superstition. Tomorrow I'd need to figure out a way to disguise it beyond recognition and sneak it back in. Maybe mash it into unrecognizable fish paste? Ancient Witness Protection Program for seafood. Dinner was only crabs, though. Nothing else. And crab roe from small mountain crabs does not fill up two starving adults. I gnawed every single piece of shell down to the atomic level and still barely felt like I'd eaten at all. After dinner, Sanyang boiled some water, poured it into a wooden tub, and carried it into my room. Wuji, take off your clothes. I'll wipe you down. I had just sat down on the bed. Those words hit me like lightning. Lady, this is not appropriate. You touched the cursed creature. This is mugwort water. It'll cleanse you of evil spirits. She was dead serious. You're already this messed up in the head. If evil spirits attach to you on top of that, we're really done for. Okay, so this wasn't a seduction. This was an exorcism bath. Got it. But letting her wash me was absolutely not happening. I knew myself. I would lose all self-control in approximately 0.3 seconds. I do it. Myself, I stammered. You big dummy. Can your hand even reach the back of your head? Strip. The water has to touch everywhere. Not one spot can be missed. She saw me getting all shy and laughed. Actually laughed at me. You've been lying in bed for days. Who do you think was keeping you clean that whole time? Hurry up. My brain. Windows shut down noise. She'd been bathing me this whole time while I was unconscious. The village idiot got full-service spa treatment, and I wasn't even awake for it. I still didn't move, so she just did it herself. Reached over and started pulling off my clothes. Her soft little hands touched my skin, and I went completely rigid. Full statue mode. System frozen. Cannot compute. She peeled off my Monkey King leopard print outfit, stood me up next to the tub, glanced down, turned slightly pink, coughed once, and said, "Cover yourself. Men and women should maintain proper distance." Excuse me? You want me to cover up? You're the one who undressed me. You dragged me over here. You insisted on doing this. And now you're talking about propriety? But I understood why she was so casual about it. In her eyes, I was a drooling moron. Basically a really tall toddler. Washing me was like washing a big dumb puppy. Zero romantic implications. The second I recovered and became a normal thinking man, forget bathing. I could take off my shirt and she'd flee the country. So really, staying stupid had its perks. Sanyang was trying to play it cool, but her face was red as a tomato and her eyes were doing that wobbly water thing. I could tell she was affected. My mouth was dry as sandpaper. I was thinking maybe, just maybe, I could shoot my shot. Ask for some warmth. It was summer, right? Wanting to be warmer was perfectly logical. All right, get on the bed and sleep, she said. Denied. I want what? What could that big empty head of yours possibly want? Go. To. Sleep. She poked my forehead with her finger, but her whole body did this little shiver, like someone flipped a switch she didn't know she had. Then she speed grabbed the water basin and practically sprinted out of my room. Gone. Vanished. Like she was running from a crime scene. All I was left with was the mental screenshot of her bending over to grab that basin. That image was now permanently saved to my brain's hard drive. No delete button. No recycle bin. The fire was not going out. That night was torture. I was lying there burning up, and Sanyang in the next room kept making these little sounds in her sleep. Soft, breathy little dream moans that could make a monk question his entire career path. Each one was like someone ladling thick, rich gravy directly onto my soul. I have zero memory of when I actually fell asleep. My first night in this new life was basically just lying in the dark, staring at the ceiling, suffering. But I woke up early. Dawn was barely peeking over the horizon, and I was already up. First order of business: ransack the original owner's stuff. I needed real clothes. This leopard print caveman cosplay had to Yendi. The smell alone was a war crime. And guess what? I found a brand new outfit at the bottom of a trunk. A proper short tunic set that the original me had been saving for special occasions. Buddy, every day is a special occasion when the alternative is smelling like a wet zoo. Bonus round. Underneath the clothes, wrapped in cloth, I found 30 copper coins. The original me had been saving these like a squirrel hoarding nuts. It wasn't enough to solve my tax problem, but for a guy whose net worth was previously zero, I was basically a millionaire. I heard the gate open and in walked San Yang, basket on her arm, legs wet with morning dew. She'd already been to the mountain and back. This woman woke up before the sun to go forage. I thought she was still sleeping. Wuji, great news. I found cassava on the mountain. With your catches from yesterday, we've got food for 2 days. She was beaming, then noticed my new outfit and did a double take. Well, looking so handsome today. Where are you going all dressed up, handsome? She called me handsome. I almost broke character and smiled like a normal person. Just wearing, I grunted. Then I looked at her cassava, and my brain sounded an alarm. Cassava is toxic if you eat it wrong. Did she know that? This has poison, I said, holding up a piece. Oh, I know, she said casually. You just eat it and then take a nap. That's what Widow Sue and her kid do. Eat cassava, pass out, one meal lasts all day. I stood there stunned. Their survival strategy was literally eat poison, fall unconscious, call it a meal plan. That's not dining. That's a controlled poisoning schedule. I grabbed the cassava, peeled it, and dumped it all in the broken water jar in the yard. 3 days. Change. Water. Sanyang watched me. Then her eyes went wide. Wait, you mean if you soak it and change the water for 3 days, the poison goes away? No more forced napping? I nodded hard. That's amazing. I need to tell Widow Sue. That woman naps so much she might actually die one of these days. She was so excited she grabbed my head and ruffled it like I was a golden retriever. You're not completely stupid. At least you remember some things. I smiled my best village idiot smile while internally thinking, did she just? I think her top just. Was that a wardrobe malfunction? Bang, bang, bang. The yard gate got kicked open so hard it nearly flew off its hinges. 3 men stomped in. The first guy was skeleton thin, swimming in a scholar's robe like a coat hanger wearing a bedsheet. Behind him waddled a fat man with a belly that arrived 5 seconds before the rest of him. His face looked like he'd been making out with a pig all night. Swollen, purple, lumpy. A masterpiece of my fistwork from yesterday. Despite looking nothing alike in body type, their faces were 80% identical. Brothers. The skeleton was Yuan Lauer's older brother, the village chief. The third guy I recognized, Chen Yuang, our clan elder. A professional bootlicker who never sided with his own people. The kind of guy who'd sell his grandmother for a pat on the head from anyone with authority. Chen Wuji, the village chief, barked, striking a pose with his hands on his hips because there wasn't a single chair in my yard for him to sit in. I hear your fists have gotten mighty tough lately, running around bullying people. Is this true? He's lying. I roared back, neck veins popping. As a certified village idiot, I needed maximum aggression. Crazy people don't do calm and reasonable. Crazy people do loud. Watch your mouth. How dare you speak to your village chief that way? He was fuming. Did you or did you not beat up Yuan Jinbao yesterday? Sanyang was getting scared behind me, about to speak up. I shoved her behind my back and kept her there. Then I stared at the chief like I was about to eat him alive, clenched both fists until my knuckles cracked, and screamed at the top of my lungs. I didn't do it. He's lying. Full denial mode. Activated. Look, it doesn't matter that his brother's face looked like I'd used it as a punching bag, which I absolutely did. The strategy was simple: deny everything. Deny it louder than they can accuse. I'm a crazy person. What are you going to do? Cross-examine me. Good luck getting a coherent testimony. My legal defense was literally brain damage, and I was going to ride that excuse straight into the sunset. My strategy was beautiful in its simplicity. Deny everything forever. I didn't do it. Prove it. You can't. Case closed. Go home. Without witnesses, it was just Yuan Lauer's word against mine. And I was a certified lunatic. Whose testimony sounds more reliable? A normal functioning adult, or the guy who eats ghost fish and wears leopard print with no underwear? Yuan Lauer was getting impatient. Big brother, forget reasoning with this idiot. Just drag him to the Chun family shrine and beat him half to death. The village chief looked over at our clan elder, Chen Yuang, the biggest suck-up in the entire village. This guy would betray his own grandmother for a nod of approval from anyone with a title. If Chun Wuji really did it, half dead is letting him off easy, Chen Yuang said, stroking his chin like a discount villain. But we should get the full story first. For appearances, the widow Hua is right there. She must know something. Then these two clowns started tag-teaming Sanyang with threats. Tell the truth, and we'll go easy on him. Lie, and he might not survive the punishment. Our clan rules are very strict. Violence is forbidden. Sanyang's face started going pale. I grabbed her hand, squeezed it hard. Then I screamed. I didn't do it. She felt the warmth in my grip, steadied herself, and delivered the most beautiful counterattack I've ever heard. Wuji came home from the mountains very late last night. When would he have had time to fight anyone? There must be a misunderstanding. Then she dropped the bomb. If Village Chief Yuan is here because of me, a widow, please don't take it out on my brother-in-law. He's simple-minded. He can't tell what's what. If something is true, it's true. If it's not, it's not. Translation: we all know your scumbag brother tried to assault me, and if you push this, I'll make sure everyone else knows too. Masterclass. Standing ovation. 10 out of 10. The chief side-eyed his brother. Is there truth to what she's saying? Yuan Lauer got nasty. Me? Interested in her? A widow? I'm worried she'd jinx me. Her last husband, the one she married to cure with wedding luck, turned into a dried-out corpse. How tragic. He was smirking while insulting my dead brother. I smiled right back at him. Cold as ice. You lied about me. You insulted my brother. I will kill your whole family. Yuan Lauer locked eyes with me, and I watched his entire spine turn to jelly. Chen Wuji, who did you just threaten to kill? The chief roared. I stepped forward, right into his face. You just said you'd beat me to death. So why? Why can't I? Kill your whole family. The chief's mouth opened, then closed, then opened again. No sound came out. Because I had a point. They did threaten to beat me to death first. And now they were dealing with a crazy person who was throwing the threat right back with the energy of someone who absolutely meant it. Here's the thing about confrontations. Tough guys are scared of crazy guys. Crazy guys are scared of suicidal guys. And I was giving off. I will burn this entire village down and laugh while doing it. Energy. Full psychopath mode. Oscar-worthy performance. The chief flinched. Let's go. He snapped at his brother, shoving Yuan Lauer toward the gate. Your brain got knocked into a pig shape and you still want to start trouble. But big brother, it was him. I'm not lying. Oh, the chief knew it was me. He'd figured out exactly what happened. His idiot brother tried to force himself on Sanyang and got his face rearranged by the village crazy person. He knew his brother was wrong, but he'd already showed up at my door. He couldn't just leave with his tail between his legs. He needed something. So he stopped, put on his official voice. Fine. The fight. We'll drop it. He said. She said. I can't judge. However, here it comes. The revenge play. Your household taxes are due soon. And also, Widow Hua, have you found a man to remarry? If you haven't found someone by month's end, I'll be forced to send you to the county office. And your parents will face punishment too. Yuan Lauer's pig face lit up like a lantern. I could practically see the gears turning in his swollen head. His plan was obvious. If Sanyang got sent to the county office, he'd bribe some officials, buy her, and make her his concubine. Legally, all he had to do was block her from finding a husband for a few more days. Then his rotten brain squeezed out another scheme. Big brother, this idiot's wife just ran away too. He should probably get a new one assigned. Let the county office pick someone for him. I could read his disgusting mind like a children's book. He wanted the officials to stick me with some huge, angry woman who'd beat me to death as a daily hobby. Once I was conveniently dead, he'd swoop in and take Sanyang. 2 birds, 1 stone. Wife acquired, revenge completed. This man's brain was a sewer. Every thought that came out of it was pure filth. The chief confirmed everything was already filed with the county. My name was on the list for forced marriage assignment. Sanyang was on the list for mandatory remarriage. Because here was the law in this wonderful empire. Widows without children who didn't remarry by the deadline would be forcibly married off by government matchmakers to random single men or even captured enemy soldiers. If you refused, your parents go to jail for 6 months and your family's taxes get multiplied by 5. Sanyang's face went white as a ghost. She'd been so busy keeping me alive that she'd almost forgotten this ticking time bomb strapped to her own life. And just like that, our problems went from no food to no food, no money for taxes. Sanyang gets forcibly married to a stranger. I get paired with a government-assigned wife who might murder me, and the village chief wants us both destroyed. This wasn't a difficult start. This was a nightmare speedrun on the hardest difficulty setting with every cheat code working against me. The chief and his goon squad left, but Sanyang didn't even notice them go. She was standing there like someone had unplugged her brain. Only one thought was running through her head on repeat. She had to get married. Again, her parents getting thrown in jail? 5 times the taxes. She couldn't let that happen. Not a chance. She put her hand on mine, soft and sad. Wuji, the county matchmaker is going to assign you a new wife. You should live a good life with her. I probably won't be around much longer. I can't let my parents suffer in prison because of me. And we definitely can't afford 5 times the taxes. I have to marry whoever they pick. Now, here's the thing. Even though I was stupid during the original owner's time, he'd somehow memorized the empire's marriage laws like a legal scholar. The Great Yu dynasty had been losing people left and right to constant wars. Population was tanking. So the government did what any reasonable authoritarian regime would do. They made being single illegal. Hit 14 and still not married? The government's coming to your house with a wedding invitation you can't refuse. Still say no? Congratulations, you're marrying a reformed prisoner of war on the frontier, your parents go to jail for 6 months, and your taxes quintuple. Basically, the Great Yu dynasty looked at single people and said, "Not on my watch. Marry me." I blurted out, grabbing her hand tight. I'd been cooking up this plan the second the chief opened his big mouth. I was not going to let this kind, gentle woman get shipped off to become some stranger's baby-making machine and household slave. I'd seen how women were treated in this dynasty. Yuan Lauer's own wife was hiding in the bedroom while he tried to assault another woman, and she didn't dare make a peep. That's how bad it was. Yeah, I was broke. Yeah, my house looked like a crime scene. But I'd figure it out. This woman kept me alive when I was a drooling vegetable. The least I could do was keep her safe. Huh? Wah. Sanyang looked at me like I'd just spoken fluent alien. Wuji, what? What did you just say, Mary? Me. Dead serious. No stutter. Full eye contact. She stared at me. Her face went through about 17 shades of red. Her eyes were doing that sparkly water thing again. Wuji. I mean, the law does allow widows to marry their husband's younger brother, but it's a bit. I need to think. Let me think. She was flustered. She was blushing. She was a mess. Her cheeks were pink as peach blossoms, and her eyes were swimming with emotions she couldn't sort out. I'll take care of you, I said. I know, you're wonderful, but, she yanked her hand free. Let me think, and then she fled. Straight into the kitchen. Started looking around frantically for something, anything, to do. Picked up a bowl. Put it down. Looked at the stove. Looked at the wall. Looked at the ceiling. Full headless chicken mode. I didn't push it. I got it. The law said it was fine. The emperor basically encouraged it, but village gossip was a different court system entirely. Marrying your dead husband's little brother? People would talk. And in a small village, talk was deadly. So I gave her space. Sharpened my wooden spear, strapped on our one and only knife, walked to the kitchen doorway, and said, I'm going to the mountain. Wait, she almost tripped over herself. At least eat something first. You can't hunt on an empty stomach. Fair point. If I went up there with 0 fuel and found nothing, I'd be crawling home on all 4s. She pulled out 1 eel from yesterday's stash, just one, couldn't bear to use more. Chopped it up with wild vegetables and made a thin soup. Technically had protein. Technically had greens. Technically was a meal. In reality, it was flavored water with ambition. I slurped down as much as my stomach could hold, grabbed my gear, and headed up the mountain. Here was the math that was keeping me awake at night. 2 households' worth of taxes combined was nearly 1,000 copper coins. The average family around here earned about 1,000 coins per year. I had to make an entire year's income in a few days. This wasn't just difficult. This was solve world hunger by Thursday, levels of impossible. Once I hit the forest, I grabbed some vines and got to work. Step 1. Catch a squirrel. Which I did. Cute little guy. Very energetic. Very sorry about what happened next. I chopped that squirrel into 7 or 8 pieces. Not because I was hungry, though I was, but because I needed bait. I was going after the big game now. Hunting wasn't exactly my specialty. In my past life, the closest I got to hunting was finding the TV remote between couch cushions. But I grew up in a mountain village, and I'd watched approximately 9,000 wilderness survival shows. I knew the basics. Fresh poop means the animal was here recently. Deep tracks mean heavy animal. Lots of tracks in one path mean it comes here often. I found a trail of fresh prints. These look like wild boar? But wait, do wild boar even eat meat? I stared at the tracks for a minute, then shrugged. Who cares? Let's set a trap and see what happens. Even a blind cat bumps into a dead mouse sometimes. I found a bendy young tree, cut off the top, twisted my collected vines into 2 ropes, tied them between the branches, and rigged up a snare loop on the ground. Then I propped up 2 flat rocks on either side, balanced on the thinnest little sticks I could find. The beauty of this setup was that it covered the entire path. The animal didn't even need to take the bait. Just breathing near those trigger sticks would collapse the rocks and snap the snare shut at the same time. It was a 2-for-1 death combo, a buy one get one funeral special. I sprinkled squirrel chunks under the rocks and in the center of the loop, marked a nearby tree so I could find this spot again, and moved on to set up more. Because if I was going to earn a year's salary in less than a week, I needed every trap in these mountains working overtime. My survival, Sanyang's freedom, and both our lives were riding on whatever walked into my janky vine and rock contraptions tonight. No pressure or anything. That little squirrel gave its life for the cause. I turned its tiny body into bait for 6 different traps. If that squirrel could see itself from squirrel heaven, watching its chopped up bits potentially take down 6 animals 10 times its size, honestly, it should feel proud. Went from running away from predators its whole life to potentially killing them from beyond the grave. That's a career upgrade. With the trap set, I grabbed my bow and headed back to yesterday's crab pond. If the locals were too superstitious to eat crabs and ghost fish, then hey, more for me. These people were basically maintaining a private all-you-can-eat buffet in the mountains and just not eating from it. The kindness, the generosity. I was truly blessed. On the way there, I spotted a golden pheasant taking a casual after-lunch stroll. Beautiful bird. Very fancy. Very dead soon. I drew my bow. Fired. Missed. Fired again. Missed again. So I did what any skilled hunter would do. I chased it down on foot like a caveman and smashed it with a rock. Not my proudest moment, but dinner is dinner. At the pond, things got weird. The water was crystal clear. I could see tiny fish zipping around. But crabs? Salamanders? Nothing. The whole underwater community had apparently decided today was National Sleepin' Day. Dear Mr. Crab, MS. Fish, I know you guys are nocturnal, but come on. Not all of you need to be sleeping right now. Wake up. Let's talk about this. I rolled up my pants and got in the water. Started my signature move. Operation Flip every rock until something screams. 4 or 5 rocks in jackpot. An entire crab family huddled together like they were having a meeting. Thank you. Thank you. Family values are beautiful. Now please, come as a set. Everyone's invited. For crabs try to scatter. 3 got caught. 1 escaped. I'll get you next time, you sideways little fugitive. Then I saw it. A massive shadow gliding through the water. A giant salamander that had to be at least 15 pounds. I held my breath. Tiptoed to my wooden spear. Lined up the shot like a sniper. Channeled my inner ancient fisherman. Eye, spear, fish. All in one line. Thrust. Splash. The salamander did a tail drift. Like a Tokyo street racer. Just swooshed right past my spear with the elegance of a ballet dancer dodging a bus. Completely untouched. You dare show off in front of me? You're already a dead fish swimming. Take this. I stabbed again. And again. And again. I was sweating buckets, gasping for air, looking like a maniac fighting the water itself. Then, And I swear this fish did it on purpose. The salamander performed one final beautiful tail spin and swam directly into my spear. Headshot. Self-inflicted. The fish literally committed suicide by spear because it was embarrassed for me. I lifted it out of the water on my spear tip, grinning like a villain who just won. 15 pounds? Nah, more like 15 or 16. That's 2 days of food for me and Sanyang right there. The reason this thing was so fat? Because people in the Great Yu dynasty thought it was a cursed demon child. Nobody hunted them. They were basically government protected by superstition, living their best lives, getting chunky. Food I can eat but can't sell. +1. Progress toward 1,000 coin tax bill, still 0. Cool. Everything's fine. This is fine. I kept flipping rocks and my luck held. Nearly 20 more crabs and a handful of eels in under 2 hours. But the pond was officially tapped out. Tomorrow I'd be lucky to find a crab toenail in here. Time to find a new spot. I checked the sun. Noonish. I was still learning the ancient art of telling time by staring at the sky. My accuracy was somewhere between, could be noon, and could be literally any hour. I followed the stream uphill, and when I reached the flat area near the summit, I stopped breathing. It was like a scene from a nature documentary, a Disney movie. Animals were gathered at the stream like they were at a cocktail party. Herds of them, just casually drinking water together like civilized neighbors. Did these animals have a lunch schedule? Was this their noon reservation? Wild cattle with horns like the ox demon king from Journey to the West. Red-furred deer-like creatures called muntjac that looked mythical but sounded terrible. Their calls gave me full-body goosebumps. And then I saw an elephant. A real, living, wild elephant. Drinking from a mountain stream. In inland China. My brain almost crashed. I knew ancient China had elephants in the south. Chao Chong Wade one. It was in every history textbook. But up here? In the mountains? The ecological diversity of this area was absolutely unhinged. My eyes locked onto that elephant, and my brain did immediate math. Big animal equals big money equals taxes paid. Sorry, big guy. I love you. But one of us has to pay rent. I drew my bow and started looking for a weak spot. One perfect shot could solve all my financial problems. Bicycle to motorcycle, baby. One arrow away from whoosh. A blast of wind came screaming out of the forest and nearly knocked me off my feet. What the hell kind of wind? I dropped flat behind a rock. Something was very wrong. I believed in science. Mostly. But that wind had intent. That wind had a personality. That wind said, sit down. 2 seconds later, I understood why. 2 massive striped tigers burst from the trees like furry missiles, flanking the animal group from both sides. They completely ignored the elephant, smart move, and went straight for the cattle and deer. 1 round. That's all it took. 1 wild ox and 3 deer got absolutely demolished. These tigers hunted like a Navy SEAL team. Coordinated, efficient, 0 wasted movement. And that legend about tigers bringing wind? Not a legend. Not a metaphor. There was actual wind when they moved. Like a weather system with teeth. I was behind my rock, shaking like a leaf in a hurricane. Every survival instinct in my body was screaming, do not move. Do not breathe. Do not even think loudly. I was not Wusong. I was not a tiger-punching hero. I was a broke guy in a new outfit who would become a crunchy snack in approximately 0.4 seconds if those tigers noticed me. Luckily, they were reasonable tigers. Professional, even. They grabbed their ox, clamped their jaws on it, and disappeared into the forest like furry ghosts. But right before they vanished, I could swear they looked at me. Both of them. Just a quick glance. And their eyes had this weirdly intelligent look. Almost human. Like they were saying, we see you, tiny man. You're lucky we already ate. Have a nice day. I stayed behind that rock for a very long time. I waited behind that rock until every single animal had fled the scene. I was not about to be dessert for 2 tigers who might be lurking in the bushes. That last look they gave me, the more I thought about it, the colder my spine got. But when I finally peeked out, the stream was empty. Just battle damage and 3 dead muntjac deer lying there like abandoned prizes. I stared at those deer corpses. My brain did math. My fear did math. My wallet did the loudest math. Those deer equals money equals taxes equals not dying. Okay, I told myself. The tigers killed 4 animals and only took 1. These 3 are just leftovers. Unclaimed property. I'm basically doing cleanup. Community service, really. The tigers should be thanking me. I was terrified. Absolutely. My hands were shaking. But the choice was simple. Die now from tiger, or die later from tax collectors. At least the tiger would be quick. I psyched myself up with a mental pep talk that was 90% lies, then launched myself at those deer like a man shot from a cannon. Grabbed one on my shoulder, dragged another by the leg, and sprinted down the stream without looking back. No wind, no roaring, no murder cats. I made it to the crab pond before my lungs collapsed. My chest felt like someone had shoved hot irons inside it. Every breath was agony. I bent over, sucked downstream water like a vacuum cleaner, and slowly returned to the land of the living. I'd done it. I'd literally stolen food from tigers and lived. My resume was getting wild. I stashed the deer in a rock crevice, covered them with grass, then went to check my traps. 2 had been triggered. My heart was pounding with anticipation. Trap 1, a rat. Trap 2, a weasel, a rat, and a weasel. 6 beautiful traps, carefully designed, strategically placed, baited with premium squirrel meat. And I caught the dollar store of the animal kingdom. It was like setting up a 5-star restaurant and only attracting raccoons. The weasel was already dead, strangled by the snare. I took it down because the fur might be worth something. Reset the trap using the rat as new bait, and tried not to cry. Back at the pond, I made a painful decision. I chopped up the 15-pound salamander, but kept the head separate as bait for tomorrow. The head was the only recognizable part. If Sanyang saw it, she'd know it was the ghost baby fish and refuse to touch it. But headless mystery meat wrapped in banana leaves? That's just dinner. Speaking of which, that first salamander from yesterday, the one Sanyang was going to bury this morning? Yeah, it was definitely already 6 feet under somewhere, getting a proper funeral it absolutely did not deserve. What a waste. That fish died for nothing. An unmarked grave for a perfectly good meal. I loaded up like a human pack mule. 2 deer on my shoulders, easily 100 pounds combined, and they kept sliding around because carrying 2 dead animals at once is not ergonomically designed. Left hand, dead weasel. Right hand, bag of crabs and mystery fish meat. 2 hours of wobbling down the mountain like a drunk crab myself. When the villagers saw me coming, they came running. Look, the village idiot caught something. Let's see. Let's see. Then they saw what I was carrying. The crowd didn't just scatter. They evaporated. He killed the mountain god. Their family is finished. Who kills a mountain god? And he's got a weasel spirit too. That thing holds grudges. Tonight is gonna be bad. Run. Before the weasel spirit puts US on its revenge list, I stood there, alone on the path, watching grown adults flee from me like I was carrying nuclear waste. So let me get this straight. Crabs equals evil spirit repellent. Giant salamander equals cursed ghost baby. Muntjac deer equals literal mountain god. And weasels equals vengeful demon that holds grudges. I just wanted to ask one simple question. Is there anything on this mountain I'm allowed to eat? Every single protein source had been assigned a supernatural backstory. These villagers weren't starving because of poverty. They were starving because they'd turned the entire food chain into a mythology textbook. No wonder Sanyang was going to flip out again. I was bringing home 2 gods, a demon, and a bag of exorcism tools. Just another normal grocery run for the Chun household. Near my house, I ran into Uncle Chun Bushi, the perpetual exam failure scholar in his worn-out robe. You came back too early, he said, glancing at my haul. Weird opening line. Uncle, what? Mountain gods need to be eaten secretly. Why are you carrying them through the village like a parade? My brain stopped. There were rules for this. A whole etiquette system for eating forbidden animals? Uncle, what's the difference between eating them secretly and eating them openly? Eat them in secret. You're scared, but your stomach's full and your wallet's heavier. Eat them openly. The entire village is scared. Then they blame you for angering the mountain god, and they're jealous you have meat. Double trouble. This man was dropping wisdom. But the mountain lord gave these to me. I grinned and lifted up the deer's droopy head. Look at these bite marks, uncle. You think my teeth did this? He studied the wounds. Then his eyes slowly moved to my face. His gaze went sharp as a blade. Your brain's working again, isn't it? Oh crap. I'd forgotten to act stupid. I'd been talking to myself on the mountain for hours and completely dropped my act. Full sentences. Clear logic. Zero drool. A little bit? Maybe? I'll probably relapse. A lot though. Very unstable. Very crazy still. Smooth recovery. Nailed it. Totally convincing. But Uncle Chen wasn't buying it or selling me out. Instead, he did something incredible. He started giving me strategic advice. Good. Keep relapsing. In fact, get worse. 2 households worth of taxes is no joke. You still need to pay, but you can pay less. The government won't punish a crazy person for coming up short. Then he dropped the real gem. A crazy person who doesn't pay a single coin? That's useless. They'll ship you to the border as cannon fodder. But a crazy person who tries to pay, even if it's not enough? The government sees that as a useful crazy person. And useful crazy people get to stay home. I stared at this man in his tattered scholar's robe, this guy who'd failed every exam he'd ever taken, and realized something. Uncle Chinbushi might have been the smartest person in this entire village. He wasn't just telling me to play dumb. He was teaching me to play dumb with strategy. There was a spectrum of crazy, and I needed to land on the exact right spot. Stupid enough to get sympathy, smart enough to show value. This wasn't acting. This was political theater. Our village had 2 official idiots, me and Uncle Chinbushi. I was the premium model, full-blown brain damage. He was the budget version, just weird. See, Uncle Bushi was a reader in a village of farmers. He celebrated holidays on different days than everyone else. He talked different, acted different, probably sneezed different. So naturally, the village decided he was insane. Oh look, the bookworm's brain got eaten by worms again. But listening to him give me strategic tax evasion advice disguised as insanity coaching, I realized something. This man was basically the ancient Chinese Tao Yuanming. That famous poet wrote about drinking wine at sunset while his crops were drowning in weeds, and his neighbors probably thought he was brain dead too. Except Uncle Bushi was better than Tao Yuanming because his crops were actually the best in the village. The man was a genius pretending to be a fool in a village full of fools pretending to be wise. Uncle, I said. Third uncle, he corrected. Oh, we're doing specifics now? Okay then, third uncle. Third uncle, want some mountain god for dinner? I'll sneak you a piece later. He waved me off. No freebies. I'll buy some. Save me a leg. Bring it over tonight. I agreed immediately and did not argue about the money. Normally I'd be generous, but right now, my financial situation made generosity a luxury I could not afford. Every copper coin was the difference between living at home and dying on the frontier. I'd just make sure to give him some extra meat on the side. Gratitude with a budget. I headed home. San Yang was in the yard processing hemp fiber, sweating like she'd run a marathon. I'm BA, whoops. Almost spoke a full sentence. Slammed the brakes just in time. CK smooth. Real smooth. Half a word. Peak acting. San Yang wiped her forehead with her wrist and came over with a smile, so warm it could melt glaciers. Then she saw what was on my shoulders. You caught so much today? That's Mountain God. She nearly dropped to her knees. Like actual religious prostration. In front of 2 dead deer. On my shoulder. I grabbed her before she hit the ground. No. They were given. Given to me. Given? Who gives someone a mountain god? The Mountain Lord. Tigers. She stared at me like I'd just told her the moon was made of tofu. In her world, tigers eat people. They don't run a delivery service. You're not lying to me? I pulled up the deer's neck and showed her the bite marks. Look, you think my teeth did this. She pried the wound open, studied it carefully, and slowly nodded. It does look like an animal bite. But how would a tiger just give you? I shook my head. Explaining the full story would take 3 hours, and she still wouldn't believe it. Better to let her imagination fill in the blanks. Maybe she'd invent some fairy tale about me being chosen by mountain spirits. Whatever worked. If only these weren't mountain gods. This would be amazing, she sighed. I'll sell them, I said. In the city, she thought about it and nodded. You're right. They're only mountain gods around here. City people probably don't care. And we already brought them home. Can't exactly carry them back up the mountain. I exhaled so hard. I was genuinely worried she'd make me return them. She'd buried a perfectly good salamander this morning. With this woman, no food was safe from religious disposal. Then she noticed the weasel in my left hand. Her newly calmed expression imploded. She slapped her own forehead. Wuji, why is everything you hunt so cursed? This one is even worse than the ghost fish. Not tasty? I asked innocently. The meat is sour and rotten, but that's not the point. This thing becomes an evil spirit two different ways. 1. If someone accidentally praises it out loud, and 2. If someone kills it. Legend says if you kill one, its ghost moves into your house and becomes a dark spirit. You have to burn incense for it forever, or your family gets destroyed. I grinned. Don't worry. I'm more evil than it is. We sell the fur. She flicked my skull with her finger. Don't say dumb things. But then she softened. Fine. We won't eat it. People have tried. The meat really is disgusting, all sour and smelly. We'll sell the fur like you said. Then she paused and said the words that made my heart explode. Whether the mountain god gets angry or the weasel spirit comes knocking, don't worry. I'll be right there with you. Wait. You said yes? My brain was buffering. Her face turned pink. She glanced at me for half a second, then dropped her eyes to the ground, twisting her hands nervously. I haven't fully decided yet, but I think I like living with you. Even though you're a big dummy, and your eyes have been very suspicious lately. My eyes? She noticed. All those stolen glances I thought were ninja-level stealth. She caught every single one. But none of that mattered because she basically said yes. I nodded so hard my neck almost broke. I'll give you a good life. She blushed deeper. I believe you. I'm already eating meat now, aren't I? Her standards were so low it was almost heartbreaking. A woman this beautiful in my previous life would need a guy with a sports car and a penthouse just for a first date. Here she was, thrilled because a caveman brought home some crabs. I reached for her hand, just held it, rubbed it a little. Stop rubbing, she said, cheeks on fire. You're going to scrub the skin off. Go rest. I'll make dinner. And after dinner, if you want to rub, I guess you can rub again. She snatched her hand back and speed-walked into the kitchen like the floor was lava. I stood there grinning like the world's happiest idiot. Then I remembered the salamander. I pulled out my pre-cut, headless mystery fish wrapped in banana leaves. Let's eat fish. Oh, it's already cut up? Where's the head? She asked, peeking inside. She did not recognize it. My disguise worked perfectly. The ghost baby fish had been successfully rebranded as generic river fish. I ate some on the mountain. Just the head, I said. She looked at me with those soft, caring eyes. You dummy. You ate the worst part and saved the good stuff for me? Stop always thinking about me first. Little did she know, I ate nothing. The head was hidden on the mountain as bait. And the generic fish she was about to lovingly cook for dinner was the exact same cursed demon baby she'd given a funeral to this morning. But what she didn't know wouldn't hurt her. And what she did eat would make her skin glow. Tonight's dinner was the best meal I'd had since arriving in this body. And it wasn't even close. That salamander, mystery fish, was incredible. The meat was so tender and naturally flavorful that our pathetic spice collection actually worked in its favor. Sometimes having zero seasoning is the move. Accidental minimalist cuisine. Sanyang was losing her mind over every bite. Her big sparkly eyes were practically shooting stars. What I asked this fish? How is it so good? What's it called? I just shook my head. Couldn't exactly say. Oh, that's the cursed demon baby you buried this morning. And I wasn't creative enough to invent a fake fish name on the spot. So I played dumb. Which, conveniently, was my entire brand. After dinner, Sanyang went to boil water while I got to work skinning the 2 deer and chopping the meat into pieces. Wrapped everything in banana leaves, stuffed it all in a basket, ready to sell in the city tomorrow. The weasel I left alone. If someone wanted it, I'd deal with it then. Then I grabbed a deer leg plus some rib cuts and headed to Uncle Bushy's place. His house was at the far end of the village, under the South Mountain. No neighbors. Just him and his books and his perfect crops. The man was living the hermit-poet lifestyle, except he was actually competent at farming, which already made him better than 90% of famous recluses in history. On the way there, I passed Yuan Lauer's house. Candlelight flickering inside. And the moment I saw it, a beautiful, terrible, disgusting idea bloomed in my brain. This scumbag had been scheming to steal my woman and destroy my life. Well, guess what? The village believed in evil spirits, curses, and supernatural revenge. And I was about to deliver some. I carefully set down the deer meat on the grass. Then I snuck up to the back of Yuan Lauer's property, found a soft patch of dirt, and contributed some personal liquid to the soil. Yeah, I peed in the dirt. Then I mixed it into mud with my hands. I didn't have water, so this was my only option for making projectiles. Was it disgusting? Absolutely. Was it worth it? 100%. I climbed the slope behind his house and got a clear view of the yard. Two figures were sitting at a small table, drinking. Thin guy and fat guy. The skeleton and the pig. The Yuan brothers. Their conversation drifted up to me on the breeze, and what I heard made my blood turn to ice. The big, ugly, violent woman you wanted doesn't exist, the chief said. So I picked the prettiest one for him instead. Yuan Lauer nearly choked. Why would you give him a pretty wife? Give her to me. We're trying to kill him. This woman murdered her husband's entire family. 3 people. Over 200 knife wounds. You want her silence. Point 200, Yuan Lauer's voice cracked. Okay, no, she's perfect for him. That idiot's big enough to probably survive 200 stabs. Such wisdom, brother. So that was their plan. They couldn't find a huge, angry woman to beat me to death. So instead they were sending me a serial killer bride. A woman who'd hacked 3 people into confetti and got pardoned because the emperor felt generous on his mom's birthday and again when the crown prince was born. 2 royal celebrations, 2 amnesty waves, and she walked free. Lucky her. Unlucky me. But wait, there was more. Tomorrow the county officials are bringing new brides to the village, the chief continued. Go intercept them. Convince them to take Sanyang away immediately. Once the idiot's new wife arrives, his sister-in-law has no reason to stay. Slip the officials some coins. If everything goes right, tomorrow night you and Sanyang can have your wedding night. Yuan Lauer was practically vibrating. I'll camp outside the idiot's house and do it right there so he can hear. Are you trying to die? The chief snapped. He's crazy. You think he won't murder you? If you can destroy him secretly, why would you taunt him to his face? You're as stupid as he is. Even the villain thought his brother was an idiot. That's how dumb Yuan Lauer was. My jaw was tight enough to crack walnuts. Their plan was almost elegant, I'll give them that. Use the government's marriage law as a framework. Bribe the matchmaking officials. Force a killer bride on me. Rip Sanyang away, and wrap everything in legal paperwork. Every step perfectly connected. Except they forgot one tiny detail. The law also allowed widows to marry their husband's younger brother. And Sanyang had already basically said yes. Checkmate, you absolute cockroaches. But first, revenge time. I looked down at the mud ball in my hand. My special, personally seasoned mud ball. And I launched it. It sailed through the air, arced beautifully over the yard wall, and landed directly on their dinner table. The aim was slightly off. I was going for Yuan Lauer's face, but instead I knocked over their oil lamp. Close enough. Darkness descended on their little scheming party like divine judgment. They shouted. I ignored them. I started firing mud balls like a machine gun, one after another after another. In the darkness, I could only see shadows scrambling, but from the sounds, the splats, the yelps, the panicked cursing, I was definitely hitting something good. When I ran out of mud, I didn't stop. I grabbed dirt clods, rocks, whatever my hands found, just hurling them at the house. And here's the beautiful part. They didn't come outside to investigate, because in their minds, this wasn't a person attacking them. This was a haunting. Remember, the whole village believed in evil spirits, cursed animals, and supernatural revenge. These 2 morons probably thought the mountain god and the weasel ghost had teamed up to punish them. So they hid inside like scared children while I stood on the hill above their house, grabbing anything throwable and chucking it at their windows with the fury of a man who'd just overheard his own assassination plan. Rocks bounced off shutters. Mud splattered against walls. I was running a one-man poltergeist operation, and it was the most satisfying thing I'd done in 2 lifetimes. Let them lie awake tonight wondering which spirit they angered. Spoiler, it was the spirit of don't mess with my woman. I dusted off my hands and crept away from Yuan Lauer's house like a raccoon leaving a crime scene. Was what I just did childish? Extremely. Was it beneath a grown man? Absolutely. Did I care? Not even a little. Even if there was only a 10 or 20% chance those 2 idiots would think they'd been cursed by evil spirits, it was worth it. These villagers were so superstitious that a single unexplained mud ball could trigger a full-blown exorcism ceremony, costing them days and money. Best case scenario, they'd panic, hire a priest, and waste a fortune cleansing their house of imaginary demons. Return on investment, excellent. I grabbed my deer meat and headed to Uncle Bushy's place in the pitch dark. His house was at the very edge of the village, a tiny yard with a stick fence and 2 mud wall huts with straw roofs. The man lived like a philosophical hermit, except his crops were immaculate. I called out from the fence. His shadow appeared in the doorway. Just jump over. The wall's short, so I vaulted in like a ninja. He took one look at me, and his face twisted in disgust. Did you roll around in a dirt pile? What happened to you? This man kept his shoes spotless while farming all day, and here I was, covered in mud made from ingredients I'd rather not discuss. I laughed it off. Passed by Yuan Lauer's house. Overheard them plotting to kill me. Got mad. Threw dirt at them. Truly the behavior of an idiot, he said, somehow even more disgusted. I was trying to pretend to be an evil spirit, I explained. Ran out of mud, so I improvised with rocks. Wasn't expecting miracles, just wanted to blow off steam. Uncle Bushy went quiet for a long moment. Then he said something that changed everything. If you'd come to me first, you wouldn't have used such an embarrassingly amateur method. Your fake haunting technique was pathetically stupid. Then he started teaching me how to do it properly. Tomorrow, find rotting animal carcasses or blood in the mountains. Bury them around Yuan Lauer's property, as much as possible. This time of year, the rotting meat will attract snakes, centipedes, and scorpions like a five-star buffet. His house will become an insect horror movie. My jaw was slowly dropping. And if you ever have enough money, he continued casually, there's an even deadlier trick. Commission a painting of a female ghost. Must have long, messy hair, critical detail, and hide it inside the main pillar of his house, or bury it along the center line of the building. Within a month, he will die. I blinked. Third uncle, you are remarkably well-informed. Just basic curse craft, he waved dismissively. Nothing special. Nothing special? This mild-mannered, crop-growing, poetry-reading village scholar had a full arsenal of psychological warfare and supernatural assassination techniques just sitting in his brain like a casual hobby. No wonder he ate mountain gods for dinner without flinching. This man feared nothing because he was scarier than anything the mountain could produce. I could also teach you the bat summoning technique, he offered, like he was suggesting a recipe. Smear eel blood on someone's door or walls. The more blood, the more bats. Do it right, and they'll have an entire bat colony roosting on their house by nightfall. Second option, bamboo torches. Light them at night. Bats come swarming. My face was frozen somewhere between awe and terror. My uncle was basically a one-man bioweapons department. Use them in this order, he advised like a military strategist. First, the bat summoning to scare them. Then the snake-attracting trick to keep them paranoid. Finally, the ghost painting to finish them. Psychological torture first, then the kill shot. I had some doubts about the ghost painting actually working, and he could tell. Even emperors have feared it, he said with a thin smile. Try it and see. Fair enough. I'd keep an open mind. Science was my religion, but in this world, I was willing to be spiritually flexible. Then he pulled out his money pouch and dumped every coin into my hand. Deer meat isn't common in the city. I don't know the exact price, so I'll pay lamb rates. 15 coins per pound. The leg's about 12 or 13 pounds. I've got 163 coins total. That's everything I own. I'm technically ripping you off, but I'm broke. Third uncle, I can't take your entire savings. 140 is fine. Keep the rest for wine. I don't pay taxes, he said flatly. I snatched that money pouch so fast it broke the sound barrier. Thanks, uncle. Gotta go, bye. Use the door. Stop jumping over my. Too late. Already over the wall. 163 coins. Not enough to solve everything. But combined with my 30 coins from this morning, that was nearly 200. The tax mountain was starting to shrink. Back home, Sanyang was waiting in my room with another tub of mugwort water. My nightly exorcism bath. At this point, she was going to scrub my skin clean off. Did third uncle really eat the mountain god? She asked, wide-eyed. I nodded. He said in other places, deer are just food, not gods. I was trying to use this as leverage to get her to eat deer too. Well, obviously, every region has different mountain gods, she said, like I was the dumb one. Doesn't mean we can eat ours. Okay, different approach. The emperor eats them too. Of course he does. The emperor is the one who appoints mountain gods. He can eat whatever he wants. But we're common people. I gave up. Her logic was bulletproof within its own insane framework. Mountain gods are regional. The emperor outranks them, but regular people can't touch them. It was completely crazy and completely consistent. You can't argue with someone whose belief system has no contradictions. even if the entire system is built on nonsense. Fine. She wouldn't eat deer. Whatever. I'd sell the deer tomorrow, buy some lamb, and feed her that instead. Same nutritional value, zero theological complications. Now strip and wash, she ordered. You need to cleanse the bad luck. Another mugwort bath. Another evening of trying to maintain my composure while a beautiful woman scrubbed my back. The things I endured for this family. The moment she said, "Wash up," I stripped down so fast I almost broke the sound barrier. My brain was already flipping through an entire encyclopedia of possibilities. All 72 of them. Thankfully, my willpower held. Barely. One more second, and I would have gone full caveman. Sanyang's eyes went all shy and dewy. Cover yourself. What kind of display is this? Hurry, I didn't move. Don't. Want to. You don't want to cover up? Then what do you want? Her face was redder than a chili pepper. She reached over and pinched my side hard. I started. She froze. Then her entire face caught fire. You want what? You. Wash yourself. She shoved the towel into my hands and bolted out of the room like the floor had turned to lava. Gone. Vanished. Olympic-level sprint. I sighed. Pushed too hard. Too soon. She'd agreed to marry me, but there was still a wall in her heart. The title of wife she could accept. That was practical, logical, survival. But the physical part? That needed the proper ceremony first. She wanted a real wedding night. She'd never had one with my brother. She wanted to do it right this time. I respected that. Truly. Even if every cell in my body was filing a formal complaint. Slow and steady, I told myself. Then I wiped down with the mugwort water and went to bed. The exorcism baths were nonsense, obviously, but I had to admit, the mugwort water was doing wonders for my skin. I was practically glowing. Smoothest caveman in the Great Yu Dynasty. Dawn broke. I launched myself off the bed like a missile and burst into Sanyang's room. Last night's romantic retreat had made me forget something critical. We needed to register our marriage today. Right now. Before the county officials arrived with my government-assigned serial killer bride and hauled Sanyang off to Yuan Lauer. This was a code-red emergency. In the old days, people just got married without paperwork. But ever since the Empire created the official matchmaker position, you had to register. If you didn't prove you were married, they'd just deliver a wife to your door. And with my hunter registration, I was technically allowed up to 3 wives. Sounds amazing, right? Wrong. Every extra wife meant extra head tax. My wallet was already on life support. A second wife would kill it. And a second wife, who was a convicted triple murderer, would kill me. Literally. I crashed through Sanyang's door and found her sitting on the bed, halfway through getting dressed. Her top was half-buttoned. Large expanses of moonlight pale skin. Valleys and peaks visible. Pink accents on display. My brain took a high-resolution screenshot and saved it permanently. Wuji. She clutched her shirt to her chest. It's dawn. What are you doing? Did you? Couldn't hold back anymore. No? There's something important, I said, trying very hard to look at the wall. I genuinely was not here for that. Today was life or death. If we didn't get to the county office before those officials left for our village, everything was over. Sanyang looked at me with tired patience. Then she said something that nearly made me black out. Look, if you really can't hold it in anymore, just come to bed. I'm not going to refuse you. We're getting married anyway. I just wanted to wait for the wedding night. She paused, her voice getting soft. Your brother and I never got to that point. With you, I wanted to follow the old traditions properly. Maybe if we do things right, our life will be better. But if you truly can't wait, my breathing was getting very heavy. Woman, you are saying these words. Right now, while I am trying to save our lives. This is psychological warfare. We need. County office, I stammered. Now, county office? Why, Yuan Lauer is coming for you. Today, government matchmaker. Bringing me a wife. Then taking you. We need marriage papers. Right now. I'll explain on the way. Her eyes went wide. Then she stopped caring that I'd seen her half naked and leaped off the bed. Why didn't you say so earlier? We're already late. Move. We threw on clothes, grabbed the deer meat and weasel fur to sell in the city, snatched up our registration documents, and sprinted out the door. On the road, she finally got her questions out. How is Yuan Lauer marrying me today? What's his plan? I explained between breaths. Matchmaker. Sends me wife. Then takes you away. I heard them. Last night. Plotting at his house. The light bulb went on. Oh. Once you're officially married, there's no reason for me to stay as your caretaker. So they force me to remarry, and Yuan Lauer bribes the officials to assign me to him. That rotten turtle EGG. That disgusting schemer. You should have told me last night. We might already be too late. Run faster. I gave her my best sheepish grin. Last night. Didn't get the chance. She shot me a look. Because you were too busy thinking about my body, right? Not entirely. So you really can't hold back? Then she started giggling. Full-on schoolgirl giggles while sprinting down a dirt road at dawn. Silly Wuji. You say you don't even know how that works, but you say you can't hold back? How does someone who doesn't know what it is know that they want it? Are humans just born knowing? I guess. So, I was not about to blow my cover right now. Born knowing? Buddy, in my past life, I was a veteran. I once walked into a karaoke bar alone and handled 10. No, we're not going there. The point is, my experience level could lap Sanyang's approximately 50 times. Then she did something evil. She turned to me mid-run, eyes sparkling with mischief, and asked, "So tell me, how exactly does it work? Explain the process." Step by step, I stopped dead in my tracks. Woman, you are asking this question. On a public road. At 6 in the morning. While we are running for our lives. Who gave you this audacity? I smiled to myself. So Sanyang had a mischievous side. She was using the talk to tease the village idiot. All right, lady, let's play. I shifted the carrying pole to my other shoulder and scratched my head. I think I'm supposed to go into somewhere. Is that right? She blushed but kept going, fully committed. Go into where exactly? I widened my eyes innocently. Was I really supposed to say it? I shook my head with my best dumb face. I don't know. Well, if you don't know, and I don't know, then what are we going to do? She sounded genuinely distressed. I almost lost it. This woman was putting on an Oscar-worthy performance of confused innocence. She was acting just as clueless as me. What a team. Two liars who deserved each other. Maybe. The mouth? I suggested. Her eyes went the size of dinner plates. She started choking. How? Why would you think it's there? Men and women only have different faces, right? She sputtered. I blinked. They don't. You know? Everything is different. Completely different, she practically yelled. Then she rubbed her face with both hands and groaned. Great. I was planning to be a woman in this marriage, but apparently I'm going to have to be the man. I do not want to be the man for that. You big dummy. You're not that stupid about everything else, so how can you not know this? Heaven help me. And in that moment, a brilliant strategy crystallized in my brain. Let her take the lead. Let her think she's in charge. Let her be the teacher. This was going to be amazing. I just don't know. I pouted. Sanyang gritted her teeth, steeled herself, and declared, Fine. Tonight, I will teach you. One lesson. If you learn it, we do it again. If you don't, you're on your own forever. But I'm dumb, I whimpered. You'll yell at me. I just had a revelation about playing stupid. I didn't need to mumble and drool. I just needed to act like a 5-year-old. Simple sentences, pouty face, hurt feelings. Way easier to maintain. She burst out laughing, stood on her tiptoes, patted my head like a puppy, and cooed. Okay, don't be sad. I'll teach you lots of times. It's not that I don't want to teach you. It's just that this really isn't supposed to be my job. I stuck out my lip. Then who teaches me? She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. Then I guess it has to be me. Nobody else could. It's fine, I'll do it. I was kidding earlier, you big baby. Why do you take everything so seriously? We bantered the entire walk to the county seat. By the time Yunnan County appeared in front of us, the sky was just getting light, and we were both in excellent moods. The city walls weren't exactly impressive, more like adequate, and 2 soldiers stood guard at the gate. A short line of farmers with shoulder poles and donkey carts waited for opening time. Sanyang leaned against me and whispered, We're a little early. The gate hasn't opened yet. But this timing should be perfect. We'll arrive right when the matchmaker's office opens. I nodded. I was buzzing with energy, practically vibrating, because Sanyang had casually promised me a private tutorial tonight, complete with hands-on instruction and multiple practice sessions. Being a moron was turning out to be the greatest strategy ever invented. Find the right angle, and stupidity was a superpower. I could ride this act for months. The gate opened after about 15 minutes. Guards checked everyone. We got through, and we sprinted to the county office. Sanyang's timing was perfect. Officials had literally just sat down at their desks. We told them we were there to register a marriage. And here's the beautiful part. We didn't even need to see the head matchmaker. Some low-level clerk just stamped us through like it was a fast food order. Brother marrying deceased brother's widow? Perfectly legal. Sign here. The marriage registry was surprisingly thorough. Names, ages, birth order, previous marriage status. They specifically noted the brother transfer arrangement. We signed, pressed our thumbprints, and walked out with 2 official documents, a marriage certificate and a response certificate. With these papers, Yuan Lauer was finished. Unless he planned to murder me and make Sanyang a widow again, or literally kidnap her in broad daylight, there was absolutely nothing he could do. He could bribe every official in the county, and it wouldn't matter. This marriage was carved in stone. And then, I kid you not, the clerk gave US money. For copper coins. 2 each. Apparently, the emperor was so desperate for people to get married that he was paying couples to do it. A government cash bonus for tying the knot. The imperial family was literally sponsoring weddings. Best government program ever. Walking out of that office, the boulder on my chest finally dissolved. We did it. We were officially married. Sanyang was safe. Yuan Lauer could go eat his own schemes for breakfast. Wife? I said, grinning so wide my face hurt. Let's go sell some meat. She blushed at the word, wife, and nodded. We headed to East Market, the biggest trading center in Yunnan County. Every kind of business was here. Food, livestock, cloth, tools, everything. Sanyang paid the market entry tax and stopped next to a pork vendor. Let's set up here. No, I said. Someone's already selling meat right there. We need to move. Her business instincts needed some calibration. This spot had low foot traffic, wasn't near any main path, and already had a competitor. My weird mountain animals would just become a freak show exhibition, not actual sales. I pulled her along while scouting the market. Checked prices. Studied traffic patterns. Finally found the perfect spot, right next to the livestock trading area. People buying and selling live animals were already in a meat mindset. Prime customer base. I set up shop, pulled out a small wooden board I prepared earlier, and wrote an advertisement in charcoal. Spiritually nourished mountain deity meat. Only 20 coins per pound. Sanyang read my sign. Then she read it again. Then she squinted at me with those clever little eyes. Somebody was fraudulently advertising, and she knew exactly who. 20 coins per pound. Regular lamb was 15. I was charging a premium because my dear meat was raised on mountain spirit energy. Was it technically a mountain god? Back home, yes. Here in the city, it was premium artisanal wild game with a compelling backstory. Marketing. It's all about marketing. The market was alive. Vendors screaming from every direction like a wall of sound. Pears. Fresh pears. 1 coin. Eat till you drop. Noodles. Eat strong noodles. Sleep with a strong wife. Pig meat. Come now. I'm about to kill the pig. That noodle guy's marketing strategy was bold. I respected it. Meanwhile, Sanyang was standing quietly next to my sign, reading it with her clever little eyes. She tapped the characters with 1 finger. Well, my silly Wuji can write now. When did you learn this? How come I never knew? Busted. A village idiot who can write calligraphy is a bit of a plot hole. Third uncle taught me, I said instantly. Threw that man under the bus without a second of hesitation. Sorry, Uncle Bushy, you're my universal excuse now. Sanyang paused. Is that why you came home so late last night? You were learning to write. Yep. Writing is so hard. Harder than hunting. She smiled. I'm sure it is. So what does this say? Spiritually nourished. Something. Mountain god meat, answered a voice that was not mine. A foreign merchant had wandered over, reading my sign out loud. Yes, I jumped in immediately. Customer number 1. Open it up. Let me see what mountain god meat looks like. Will I become immortal if I eat it? He was genuinely curious. I don't know about immortal, but it is our local mountain deity, I said. He peeked in the basket, sniffed the meat, and wrinkled his nose. This is just deer meat. It's red muntjac. Sanyang jumped in helpfully. We rescued it from a tiger's jaws. The merchant tossed the meat back. 20 coins per pound? That's 5 more than lamb. Who's dumb enough to pay that? And he swaggered off. Sanyang watched him leave with puppy dog eyes, then turned to me. Wuji, you wrote 20 coins? Yep. Third uncle's idea. It's too expensive. Let's lower it. Let's wait. I think third uncle knows what he's doing. Fine. Then something bizarre happened. A middle-aged man with sunken eyes and a waxy yellow face appeared out of nowhere and practically threw himself at our stall. But he wasn't looking at the deer meat. He was staring at the dead weasel like it was made of solid gold. Mountain deity meat, 20 coins, very spiritual. Sanyang started her pitch. I asked that for sale. He was pointing at the weasel, eyes blazing. Sure, I said. Give it. Now, he yanked a money pouch out of his robe and slammed it into my hand. I stood there completely dumbfounded. Sir, don't you want to know the price first? What are you standing there for? 300 coins isn't enough? He snapped. 300 coins. For a weasel I picked up as an afterthought. A weasel whose meat was apparently sour and rotten. A weasel I almost left on the mountain. I handed him the weasel and offered his pouch back so he could count out the coins himself. Look, this man was begging to be ripped off. He didn't ask the price. He didn't negotiate. He threw money at me like it was burning his hands. Not scamming him took genuine moral effort. But I planned to sell here regularly. Reputation mattered. Keep it all, he said, shoving the pouch back. And that meat, 20 per pound? The spiritual stuff? I nodded. 5 pounds. Sanyang nearly levitated with joy. She grabbed the scale and piled on a generous 5 pounds, tied it up with twine, and handed it over with the enthusiasm of someone who'd just won the lottery. The man took it casually and said, "You hunt these yourselves?" I nodded. "Listen carefully. If you catch more weasels, bring them to the coffin shop at the east end of the market. Only one coffin shop, can't miss it. I'll pay 300 coins each. Unlimited quantity. Bring as many as you can, as fast as you can," he leaned in. "Deliver one tomorrow, and I'll add 20 bonus coins." My brain was doing backflips. The thing I thought was worthless, the animal nobody in the village would touch, the creature they said would haunt your family for generations, was worth 300 coins per unit. The cursed merchandise had found its cursed buyer. Evil item, meet evil profession. A coffin maker wanted weasels. I didn't need to know why. I didn't want to know why. All I knew was that 3 more weasels equaled our entire year's tax bill. I was suddenly itching to abandon the stall and run straight back to the mountains. Forget deer meat. I was now a professional weasel hunter. My new career path was clear. "Did you hear me?" the coffin man barked. "Both of you standing there like statues. I'm not scamming you. 300, cash on delivery. Heard you. I'll bring them," I said, still half in shock. Sanyang was worse. Her eyes had completely glazed over. After he left, she grabbed my arm with a death grip and whisper screamed, "Wuji, did you hear? 300 coins each. Our taxes. We can actually pay them." She had completely, entirely, 100% forgotten that weasels were evil spirits that would curse our family for eternity. The supernatural terror that had made her slap her own forehead yesterday? Gone. Evaporated. Replaced by cold hard financial math. "Dear wife," I said sweetly, "aren't those evil spirits?" Her sparkling eyes dimmed instantly. "Oh, right. They are evil." Long pause. She bit her lip. Internal struggle. You could practically see the battle between superstition and survival happening behind her eyeballs. "But we already killed one," she said slowly. "If we're already cursed, does it really matter if we kill 3 more? Probably not much difference, right? Better to pay the taxes first. If we don't pay, we both get sent to the border to die. The frontier watchtowers are built with the bones of forced laborers. Wuji. I'll go hunt them tomorrow." I grinned. "I'm not scared of any curses." She puffed up her chest. "Neither am I." And just like that, the terrifying evil spirits of the mountain got absolutely steamrolled by tax season. Supernatural dread versus financial ruin? Money wins. Every time. With her newfound courage, Sanyang got back to hawking deer meat. I stood back and watched. Lots of people came to look. Very few came to buy. 20 coins per pound was rich people pricing, and this was a farmer's market. But I wasn't changing the price yet. In ancient times, muntjac was supposedly a noble delicacy. I was waiting for the right buyer, someone who recognized quality. If nobody bit by afternoon, I'd slash the price below lamb and dump everything. But for now, patience. The sun climbed. The heat got brutal. I spent 20 coins, painfully, on 2 clay jars, filled them with water, and nestled the meat around them in the basket. Primitive refrigeration. Without it, the meat would go bad before lunch. I'd just finished my DIY cooling system when a well-dressed middle-aged man appeared with a servant in tow. He looked at my sign, then at my basket, and his eyebrows went up. Muntjac meat? Here? Let me see a piece. Now that was the voice of a man who knew what he was looking at. One look at this guy's clothes and I knew. This was my target customer. Rich. Refined. The kind of man who could tell the difference between mountain deer and regular deer just by sniffing it. I pulled out the meat. He examined it with the intensity of a jeweler inspecting a diamond. Clever trick, using water jars to keep the meat fresh. Quality is good, he said, nodding. Sanyang jumped in immediately. Sir, this is mountain god meat. Very spiritual. We obtained it by accident. My girl had done a complete 180 on the whole mountain god thing. Yesterday, we're doomed for touching a deity. Today, buy our holy meat, sir. Very magical. On sale now. Amazing what tax season does to theology. The man chuckled. Mountain god. Ah yes, red muntjac, considered sacred in some southern mountain regions. Let me tell you something, little lady. This meat is delicious. 20 coins per pound. You're selling it too cheap. Then without even asking how much there was, he turned to his servant and said, pick up the whole thing. Baskets, poles, water jars, everything. Seal the jars so the water doesn't splash. He just bought everything. The entire stall. Like a rich guy clearing out a snack table. Sanyang's eyes went wide and she opened her mouth to protest. Probably about the baskets. But I grabbed her arm. This man reeked of money. If I played this right, he could become a regular customer. I wasn't about to lose a whale over a bamboo basket and 2 clay jars. Here, kid. He tossed me a money pouch. 500 coins in there. Your pole, baskets, and jars. 50 coins should cover those. The meat, I'd estimate about 20 pounds. Am I close? My jaw dropped. This man's eyeball scale was insanely accurate. Spot on. Off by only 2 pounds. 31 pounds total minus the 9 I'd already sold in bits. 22 pounds remained. At 20 coins each, 440. Plus 50 for the equipment. 490 total. I handed the pouch to Sanyang to make change. She counted out 10 coins and returned them. Honest folks, the man said with a nod. I expected him to introduce himself. Drop a business card. Say, bring more next time. Something. But nope. He just walked away. Didn't even look back. Apparently, my poverty-stricken hunter aesthetic wasn't worth his networking effort. He'd gotten his meat, and that was that. Thanks for the money, sir. Cool. Fine. I'm not crying. Wuji. Sanyang grabbed my arm so hard I thought she'd pull it off. We've almost got enough. How much did we make? I asked, even though I already knew. I don't know. Let me count. She was practically bouncing. This was the most money she'd ever seen. Her family's all-time record was 100 coins, and we'd just handled several hundred in a single morning. Wife, what if someone robs us? Let's go home and count there, I said, acting nervous. She burst out laughing. Good idea. Home. Count at home. But I'd already done the math in my head. Coffin shop weasel man. 300 coins. Weasel 5 pounds of meat. Small sales throughout the morning. 80 coins. Uncle Bushy last night. 163 coins. Rich guy just now. 490 coins. Grand total. 1,033 coins. Plus the 30 coins I'd found at home. That made 1,063. Our tax bill was roughly 1,050. We made it. We actually made it. Wait. Hold on. I recounted. Original stash was only 10 coins, not 30. I'd spent 20 on those water jars. New total, 1,043. Tax bill, 1,053 or so. We were 10 coins short. 10 coins. We'd gone from owing 1,000 to being short by the price of 2 pairs. The financial equivalent of running a marathon and collapsing one step before the finish line. If I'd left a little less meat on the bones when I was cutting. If I hadn't been so generous with the portions I set aside for Sanyang. If I'd sold 1 more pound. But I couldn't blame myself for wanting to feed my wife. Those bone scraps were going to be her dinner. I'd rather be 10 coins short than watch her eat tree bark soup. Fine. 10 coins. 1 more weasel tomorrow, and we'd have enough, plus a massive surplus. Not ideal. Not a crisis. Just annoying. We speed-walked home without buying anything in the market. No new baskets, no new carrying pole. Every coin was sacred. I'd make that stuff myself. It wasn't rocket science. But as we approached the house, my stomach dropped. Under the big willow tree by our front gate sat a crowd. Government officials in uniform. A woman in chains. And standing right there like a pair of vultures waiting for a carcass, the Yuan brothers. Skeleton and pig face, looking extremely pleased with themselves. Wuji, there are people at our door, Sanyang said. Oh no, they're here to deliver your new wife. What do we do? We're already married. Can we refuse her? I almost laughed. Darling, you keep forgetting I'm supposed to be stupid. I don't want her, I blurted out. Simple, direct, very on-brand for a crazy person. But with government officials already at my doorstep, refusing wasn't going to be as easy as yelling. We walked up. Before we got close, Yuan Lauer came charging at us like an angry dog with two giant black eye circles. My artistic contribution from 2 nights ago. Where have you been, you idiot? The county officers have been waiting a whole hour. Do you know how disrespectful that is? I shrugged. Didn't know you were coming. Why are you so angry? You gonna bite me? His face turned purple. You dare mouth off to me? I'll kill you. Then I'll kill you. Your whole family. And bury you alive. I snapped my neck forward and cranked the crazy up to 11. Old man, you want to play tough with a lunatic? Let's go. Pick a lane. Shut up. The chief barked at his brother, then strutted over to me with his official face on. Idiot. The officers have brought you a bride. But they've been waiting a long time. They're thirsty. Where's their tea money? Pay up first. Then we'll discuss your marriage. Tea money. This parasite wanted me to pay a bribe before I could even talk to the officials. I couldn't even afford to buy a new basket, and this man was asking me for a hospitality fee. I wanted to find my wooden spear and poke a skylight through his skull. The big bosses in hell are easy to deal with. It's the little demons at the gate who'll bleed you dry. This castration-worthy old goat. One day, I was going to make him pay for every single copper coin. I paid the tea money. 20 coins. 2 officials, 10 each. Did it hurt? Like swallowing broken glass. But I had to think strategically. I didn't have the power to fight these people yet. Even Liu Bei, the legendary emperor who studied under great masters, fought rebellions, and marched with the coalition of 18 lords, once lost his temper and beat up a minor official. And what happened? He had to run for his life. And that was Liu Bei. I was a broke hunter in a leopard skirt. Pick your battles. This wasn't one of them. Chen Wuji? Sign here. The official pulled out a marriage document and a registry. No small talk. No explanation. Just, sign, take your wife, we're busy. I pulled out my marriage certificate with Sanyang. But I already have a wife. What do I do? Yuan Lauer snatched a look at the document, and his voice went up about 6 octaves like someone was strangling a duck. Your old wife ran away. Why are you still carrying that useless paper? Wait, Huo Sanyang. You married your brother's wife? When did this happen? You absolute. Yuan Jinbao. The official's hand slammed down on his sword handle. Yuan Lauer nearly jumped out of his skin. Want to run this operation yourself? The official growled. Brother-to-brother marriage transfer has been legal forever. The court doesn't just allow it. They encourage it. Where exactly did you get the idea it's forbidden? One more word of nonsense, and I'll knock out whatever teeth that idiot over there left you. Yuan Lauer deflated like a punctured balloon. He started making desperate eye signals at his brother, blinking, twitching, doing everything short of semaphore flags. The chief looked at the signals, looked at his brother, and pretended he didn't exist. Just walked up and held the registry like nothing happened. Abandoned his own flesh and blood in public. Beautiful. Sign, the official said again. You're a registered hunter. You're allowed 3 wives. 1 primary, 2 concubines. I already drank your tea money. I'm not bringing this woman back. Then he actually winked at me. First-time bride. Very pretty. You're a lucky guy, but another wife means more taxes. I whined, pulling my best sad puppy face. I want to sleep with her, but I don't want to pay for her. Both officials burst out laughing. Stop complaining. Other men would kill for this deal. You've got a gorgeous concubine, and you're crying about a few hundred coins? Ask around for ways to make more money. Now sign. We have other stops. I couldn't figure out what other opportunities he was hinting at, but clearly this woman was not going back with them. My options were accept or accept. I signed. They unlocked the chains around the woman's neck and walked off with the chief to go collect more unmarried village girls who'd turned 14. Apparently, there were several households about to get very unpleasant visits. Yuan Lauer stayed behind. Of course he did. His greasy eyeballs were doing laps around Sanyang's body like a fly circling honey. My vision went red. I charged into the yard, grabbed our one and only knife, a rusty piece of tetanus waiting to happen, and came flying back out. Old pervert, you're looking at my wife. I will end you. My voice was so loud the officials 50 yards away turned around to watch. Yuan Lauer saw a screaming maniac sprinting at him with a blade, and his soul left his body. He pivoted and bolted toward the officials, shrieking, "Help! The idiot is murdering me. Save me." I chased him for a good stretch. Then when I couldn't catch him, I threw the knife. The blade tumbled through the air. Yuan Lauer's running speed doubled instantly. I didn't know a fat man could move that fast. The two officials watched the entire circus, arms folded, thoroughly entertained. One of them commented, "This idiot's got guts. A real passionate lunatic." Then they walked away, completely ignoring Yuan Lauer's squealing. I went and picked up my knife. Cussed out Yuan Lauer's ancestors for a few generations. Peace was finally restored. But now I had a problem standing in front of my gate. A very pretty problem, with a very terrifying resume. This was the woman who'd butchered her husband's entire family with a kitchen knife. 200+ stab wounds across 3 people. And she was now officially my concubine. I couldn't tell Sanyang about the murder history. She'd never sleep again. But if I didn't tell her, and something happened to this gentle, kind woman because I kept my mouth shut. "Miss, please come inside." Sanyang stepped forward to help up the girl, who was still kneeling on the ground. The girl didn't move. Instead, she looked up and started talking. "I was married at 15 years and 3 months. 1 month later, I killed my husband's entire family. 3 people. With a kitchen knife. Then I spent about a year in prison. 2 imperial pardons later, here I am." Sanyang's body did a small tremor. She stared at this girl, visibly shaken. I immediately pulled Sanyang behind me. "What do you want?" The girl shook her head calmly. "Nothing. You can beat me to death if you want. But I think you deserve to know my history up front, rather than finding out later and treating me like an enemy." Then she dropped her real backstory. "My father was once the imperial censor, a high court official. He fell from power, the government seized everything, and I was forced into marriage. My name is Shen Yue. I was educated since childhood, reading, writing, court etiquette, classical literature, trained by palace musicians." Sanyang's eyes went wide. "But if you're such a refined, educated lady, why did you kill them? If you're willing to believe me, I'll tell you," Shen Yue said. "On my wedding night, my husband and his father both wanted to take turns consummating the marriage with me. Dead silence. I refused with a knife. They beat me up and locked me in the dog kennel. Starved me for 7 days. When they let me out, my mother-in-law washed me up and brought both men back. They tried to force themselves on me again. They thought a week of starvation had broken me. It hadn't. During the fight, I crushed my father-in-law's balls with my bare hands. They beat me again and threw me back in with the dogs." Sanyang blinked. "Miss, I understand now why you did what you did. But what exactly are balls?" Shen Yue turned and looked directly at me. "Do you mind if I demonstrate on?" I grabbed my crotch with both hands. I mind very much." "Stay right where you are." This woman was terrifying. Bare-handed castration. Just imagining it made my knees weak. Sanyang's face went pink. I think I understand now. You don't need to demonstrate." Shen Yue nodded and continued. "After they locked me in the kennel again, I was actually just planning to escape. I didn't want to kill anyone. Until," she paused, and the air got very, very heavy. Shen Yue's eyes dropped. Pure hatred flickered across her face. "Until one day, they brought 2 men to the dog kennel. They stood right in front of my cage and started negotiating. My body, my virginity, my condition, everything about me became bargaining points. Like I was livestock at auction. They argued back and forth about my value. My scalp went numb. If someone did that to me, I wouldn't just want to kill them. I'd want to burn the entire world down." They haggled for a long time, she continued, a mocking smile on her lips. I could tell those 2 buyers were interested. But they were curious why I was locked in a dog kennel. My husband didn't want to explain, but the buyers said, no explanation, no sale. So he told them about my resistance. The deal fell through. The buyers were afraid I was too fierce, worried they'd spend all that money and only get to use me once before I killed myself. I exhaled slowly. Every last drop of wariness I had toward this woman evaporated. She'd done nothing wrong. Not a single thing. "Sister, come home," I said, fighting through the cringe of using my 4-year-old voice on a stranger. "My house is poor, But my wife is kind, and I'm well-behaved. Nobody will hurt you here. Just please don't hurt me. With Sanyang, the baby talk was second nature now. Pouting, whining, weaponized cuteness. But with someone new, my mouth physically resisted forming those words. The embarrassment was real. Xin Yue smiled faintly. I haven't finished my story. You don't need to, Sanyang said gently, pulling her to her feet. Come home. I'll boil water for a bath. Let's wash all this old pain away. This family is poor, but nobody will hurt you. Stay if you want. If you don't want to stay, rest up first, then decide. Xin Yue looked at me. I'm his concubine now. Unless he divorces me, I'm not leaving. Also, I want to finish what I was saying. We both went quiet. When the sale fell through, they looked at me like rotten meat stuck to a pan. Couldn't sell me. Couldn't use me. So they decided to eat me. Silence. The famines a few years ago had already accustomed them to it. Human flesh wasn't new to them. And since I was useless in every other way, at least I was meat. And supposedly, I had soft skin, so Sanyang pressed her lips together so hard they went white, fighting down the nausea. Stop. Please. You've suffered enough. Let's go inside. I'll make you fish soup. Wuji caught a big fish yesterday. Let's get some food in you. I watched them walk inside, and my chest felt like someone had parked a boulder on it. The famines. I knew about them. A few years back, the southern region got hit with drought, then floods. People died by the thousands. The original body had seen it firsthand. Corpses lining the roads during the day, gone by morning. Dragged away in the dark. Eaten. Trading children to eat wasn't just a figure of speech here. It was history. Recent history. This era was not a good time to be alive. Sanyang heated up mugwort water and pulled Xin Yue into her room for a bath. I sat outside in the shade, working on hunting equipment. I was building a new kind of trap, a piercing pitfall, to test in the mountains tomorrow. Plus I needed more arrows. The original owner had left exactly 2 proper iron arrowheads. 2. I couldn't afford new ones, so I was carving wooden arrows. Quantity over quality. If I shot enough of them, something would eventually get hit. Probably. From inside the room, I could hear water splashing and soft conversation. I had zero interest in Shun You's tragic backstory right now. What I was interested in was whether Sanyang was bathing with her. Because Sanyang in a wooden bathtub? King Zhou of Shang, the legendary tyrant who abandoned his kingdom for a fox spirit, would have surrendered on sight. By the time I finished my 3rd arrow, the door opened. Out walked Xin Yue with wet hair clinging to her cheeks, carrying the bath basin. One look at her, and my brain went. Mountain wildflowers after rain. Fresh. Clear. Pure. The kind of face that made men want to protect her with their lives. The textbook definition of girl next door. So innocent-looking you'd feel guilty breathing too hard near her. Next to Sanyang's elegant, mature beauty, Xin Yue was the cute little sister type. Both gorgeous. Completely different flavors. I walked over and took the basin from her hands. Didn't say anything. I'd just gotten comfortable acting stupid around Sanyang, and now I had to perform for a whole new audience. The fewer words I spoke, the fewer chances I had to blow my cover. Where's the toilet? She asked quietly. I'll show you. I led her out the gate, around the corner, and pointed at our bathroom facility. It was a semicircle of sticks tied together. Waist high. No roof. No door. About as private as standing in the middle of a field with a small fence around your ankles. Poverty toilet. Maximum ventilation. She smiled politely and walked over. I was turning away to dump the dirty water when I caught movement in my peripheral vision. I turned my head and she'd already hiked up her skirt. A flash of pale skin appeared as she squatted, and my brain went completely offline. Miss. Lady. Madam. Could you wait until I leave? Did she not see that this was a semi-open-air panoramic viewing platform of a toilet? There were no walls. There was no door. I could see everything from here. But she didn't look away. In fact, she looked directly at me. I stood there. She squatted there. We made eye contact. Well, okay then. You're really not treating me as an outsider, are you? Fine. Since you're offering the view, at least let me see properly. Though from this angle, I'd probably need to lie flat on the ground for the full experience. The sound of splashing water filled the air for a few moments. Then she stood up, smoothed her skirt, and walked over with the composure of a diplomat at a state dinner. I wasn't sure if I needed to be modest around my husband. You seem to be watching very carefully, so I assumed I didn't need to hide. If that was improper, I'll be more careful next time. Her face was perfectly serious, almost stern, except for the tiny blush on her cheeks that betrayed her. I gave her an encouraging nod. I thought it was a lovely view. She paused. A flicker of helplessness crossed her expression. If my husband wants to look, perhaps next time you could choose a moment when I'm not using the toilet? Other occasions might be more pleasant. I put on my best. Oh, I just learned something new face. Oh, you're right. That makes more sense. So, can I look right now then? Sure, Xinyue said. Instant. Zero hesitation. Like I'd asked her to pass the salt. Then she tilted her head. But, why does husband want to see that? I almost died laughing on the inside. This woman was magnificent. No drama, no games, just a straight-up yes, followed by genuine confusion about why. 3 characters in Chinese. The most beautiful word in any language. Sure, I'm curious, I said. Oh, then please look. And she grabbed her skirt and started lifting. The hemp fabric was covered in tiny rips and tears, flashing glimpses of white skin underneath. She hiked it past her knees in one smooth motion, revealing 2 chopstick-straight legs, pale as fresh snow, long and slender. But then I saw the scars. Dozens of them. Big ones, small ones, old ones, every kind of wound. A road map of suffering carved into what should have been perfect skin. My heart sank. This girl had just crawled out of literal hell, and here I was acting like a horny monkey. I felt like absolute garbage. Please look, husband, she announced helpfully. Okay, I was already here. I'd already committed to being a terrible person for these 30 seconds. Might as well complete the mission. I'd make it up to her by being genuinely kind for the rest of her life. She needed sunshine? Fine. I'd be her sunshine. Starting tomorrow. Today was for being a barnyard animal. Just as my eyes were traveling upward toward the main event, the grand finale, the summit of the mountain, the Sanyang walked out. I wanted to die. Ancestors. Gods. Buddha. Jade Emperor. Could you not have given me 2 more minutes? Yue, why is your skirt up? Sanyang rushed over and slammed the fabric back down like closing an emergency hatch. Xinyue blinked with the purest, most innocent eyes imaginable. Husband said he was curious. I was just showing him. He watched me use the toilet earlier, so I assumed he was confused about why I do it differently than him. Sanyang's face went pink. This is ridiculous. Yue, listen, his brain doesn't work right. He's like a child. Don't encourage this behavior. You can't just show him that area. It's bad luck? Bad luck? Xinyue looked genuinely lost. I've never heard that before. It is. Sanyang leaned in and whispered something in her ear. Whatever she said, it worked. Xinyue's face went from porcelain white to volcanic red in about half a second. Even her ears turned the color of polished gemstones. Husband, I apologize, she said in a tiny voice. I didn't know there were so many implications. I thought since I'm your concubine, everything was automatic. I was furious. Not at her. At the universe. I wanted to scream. It is automatic. There are no implications. Whatever she told you is ancient nonsense. This is like the don't visit neighbors during your period superstition. Complete garbage. Social poison. Someone made it up and now I'm suffering for it. But I couldn't say any of that. I was a drooling child-brained idiot. I had to stand there and take it. Wuji, this girl just went through hell. She's fragile. Don't mess with her. Don't bully her. Understood. Sanyang put on her stern mom face. Okay, I mumbled, looking like a puppy who'd been caught eating shoes. This was officially the most depressing moment of my transmigrated life. I had been seconds away. Seconds. 2 more minutes, and I would have witnessed glory. But no. Sanyang linked arms with Xinyue and walked inside. One bath together, and these 2 were already acting like lifelong sisters. Matching pace, pet names, everything. The sisterhood formed faster than a chemical reaction. I shuffled behind them like a sad little ghost who'd lost half his soul. Sanyang glanced back, saw my pathetic face, and burst out laughing. I knew it. She did that on purpose. She'd been watching from inside. She waited for the perfect moment to walk out and ruin everything. That evil, beautiful, diabolical woman. Lunch was salamander fish stew with wild vegetables. Salt and pepper only, our entire spice empire. Everyone ate well, especially Xinyue. This poor girl hadn't eaten properly in God knows how long. She tried so hard to maintain her noble lady dining etiquette, small bites, straight back, proper chopstick form. But her body had other plans. She was cramming fish meat into her cheeks like a chipmunk preparing for nuclear winter. Both cheeks puffed out, jaw working overtime, and her chopsticks still reaching for more. She wouldn't swallow quickly either. Every mouthful got chewed slowly, savoring every last molecule of flavor, like she was afraid this might be the last good food she'd ever taste. Eat slowly. There's more fish, Sanyang said gently. Wuji's been hunting well lately. We have enough for 2 or 3 days, Xinyue froze. Only 2 or 3 days? She put her chopsticks down. Then I should eat less. Sanyang kicked herself internally. That's not what Yue, this is your first meal in this house. You are eating until you're full. After today we'll budget, but today you feast. Eat up, I said, dropping fish onto her plate. If you don't eat it, I'll eat it all. I'll eat. She swallowed what was in her mouth and picked up her chopsticks again like an obedient kid. I smiled quietly. She was adorable. A sweet, innocent-looking girl with the cutest confused expressions, who also happened to have a body count of 3 and a signature move involving barehanded castration. The dissonance was extraordinary. I'd definitely scored another win from this insane empire. Sure, I'd have to pay extra taxes for another person, but the tax-to-sleeping companion ratio was extremely favorable. Great deal. Would recommend. After lunch, I warned Sanyang to watch out for Yuan Lauer, then grabbed my gear and headed for the mountains. Current tax deficit, 580 coins. Today's priority target, weasels. Every single one of those, evil spirits, was worth 300 coins. I didn't care if they were cursed, haunted, or possessed by the ghost of Emperor Qin himself. If it had fur and a grudge, I wanted it in a bag. I checked my old traps first. Results, 2 rats and 5 dead crows. I stood there staring at the carnage in complete bewilderment. The rats I understood, but 5 crows. These things had wings. How did they get crushed under a flat rock? Did they land on the trigger simultaneously? Was this a group suicide? A murder-suicide pact among birds? At this point, I had to accept what Sanyang had been telling me all along. My hunting was genuinely cursed. Nothing normal ever walked into my traps. In the eyes of West Mountain Village, my only, acceptable, catch so far was eels. Everything else was either a god, a demon, a vengeful spirit, or apparently now, death omens. I had no idea if anyone bought dead crows, but based on my weasel experience, I was keeping everything. The coffin shop guy wanted weasels. Maybe there was a fortune teller somewhere who needed crows. In this economy, every cursed animal was a potential customer match. My entire business model was basically, catch something terrifying, then find the one weirdo in town who desperately needs it. Supernatural eBay. Just connecting evil supply with evil demand. I strung up the 5 crows on a grass rope, hung them from my belt like the world's most depressing accessory, reset my traps, and went back to flipping rocks and setting snares. Across the mountain. Another hour and a half of work gave me 7 new trap locations, 2 heavy-duty piercing pits for wild boar, and 5 quick snare loops for whatever else wandered by. Then I checked the crab pond. 2 crabs. 2. After 2 days of aggressive harvesting, I'd basically strip-mined the entire ecosystem. The pond was empty. I'd committed an ecological crime against crustaceans, and the survivors had clearly spread the word, avoid the tall monkey. He takes everyone. I didn't want to go back up the mountain. Up there was Tiger Country, the VIP lounge for apex predators who could turn me into a light snack. But with less than 8 days until the tax deadline and 580 coins still to go, that noose around my neck was tighter than any tiger's jaw. Up I went, following the stream. Along the way, I got lucky. A few lost crabs and some creatures that looked exactly like the forest frogs I'd heard about from Northeast Chinese internet memes. I wasn't 100% sure they were the real deal, but as long as they weren't toads, they were edible. Forest frog oil was supposedly incredible stuff, the ancient Chinese equivalent of premium supplements. Too bad I had no idea how to process it properly. Into the soup pot you go, little guys. Sorry about the lack of sophistication. Also saw tons of tiny fish, but they were finger-sized and I had nothing to catch them with. They just swam around taunting me. Little aquatic bullies. Mental note, bring fish traps next time. I reached the mountaintop clearing, the Animal United Nations. Creatures were casually drinking at the stream like it was a hotel lobby. And there they were, my cash cows. The muntjac deer. The mountain gods. These idiots had apparently already forgotten that 2 of their friends got eaten by tigers yesterday. They were just strolling around, nibbling grass, living their best unbothered lives. Zero trauma. Zero survival instinct. The goldfish of the deer world. I checked for tigers. No wind. No tracks. No murder vibes. Coast seemed clear. Now, between hunting weasels and hunting deer, the choice was obvious. Deer were worth money and tasted amazing. The mountain god was getting another visit from its biggest fan. I drew my bow, pulled it to full tension, adjusted my angle once, twice, 3 times, fired. The arrow screamed through the air and planted itself firmly in the grass, about 2 steps away from the deer. The muntjac raised its head, looked at my arrow, looked at me, and then, I swear on my life, gave me the most dismissive look any animal has ever given a human. Pure, concentrated disdain, like a princess glancing at a peasant. Then it went right back to eating grass. I just got disrespected by a deer. The cold shoulder hit harder than any punch. If it had charged at me, I could have dealt with that. But being casually ignored? By a deer? That's psychological warfare. Oh, you think you're cute? Stand right there. Don't move. I was heated now. I nocked another arrow. Breathed slowly. Lined up the shot with surgical precision. Neck. Center mass. Can't miss. Can't. I released. The arrow flew straight and true, directly into a giant open mouth. Not the deer's mouth. A python's mouth. A massive snake had been coiled on the rock right above me, completely silent, absolutely invisible, and my arrow had flown straight into its gaping jaws like a pizza delivery it didn't order. I nearly fell over from shock. Cold sweat exploded across my entire back. Where did this thing come from? It was right there, on the rock I was hiding behind. I was underneath it this whole time and had no idea. If I'd been 1 second slower, that python would have swallowed my head like a party appetizer. The arrow had gone clean through its lower jaw, and the snake was not happy about it. Its body, thick as a bucket, started thrashing violently, slamming its enormous head against the rocks, trying to dislodge the arrow stuck through its mouth like the world's worst tongue piercing. I grabbed a crow from my belt and chucked it at the snake's face as a distraction. While it flinched, I drew my knife and leaped, aiming for what I estimated was 7 inches below its head. The legendary weak spot. Hit a snake at 7 inches, and it's game over. My blade connected and bounced. It was like slashing a tire. The knife practically rebounded off the python's skin. The cut was pathetic, barely a scratch. My family's ancient blade of tetanus and disappointment had failed me again. Oh, you want to play? I attacked again. And again. Snakes were now officially my #1 most hated creature. Worse than tigers. At least tigers were honest about trying to kill you. They didn't hide on rocks like cowards and ambush people from above. Third strike. Finally, my knife hit the exact same spot as the first cut, and this time the blade sank through the thick skin. I felt it give. Victory was mine, wham. The python's tail came around like a wrecking ball and launched me into the air. I flew backwards and slammed into a tree trunk, so hard I thought every rib in my body had shattered simultaneously. The pain was indescribable, like getting hit by a solid iron pendulum swung by an angry god. For about 10 seconds, I genuinely thought I was dying. Then the pain downgraded from definitely dead to probably alive but wishing I wasn't. Nothing was broken. Just pure, concentrated agony in every cell. This snake hits like a truck, I wheezed. But here's the thing. That oversized noodle had a problem. My arrow was still jammed through its mouth like a kebab skewer. And apparently this python had OCD because instead of chasing me down and finishing the job, it went right back to trying to pry the arrow out. Priorities. It was like someone with a popcorn kernel stuck in their teeth. Nothing else matters until it's gone. I stumbled to my feet, shook my burning shoulder, and climbed onto the big rock. Now our positions were reversed. Snake below, me above, high ground acquired. I raised my knife with both hands, every muscle screaming, shoulder on fire, ribs definitely bruised. Time to die, you stupid overgrown shoelace, and I jumped. I went full rodeo on that python, jumped on its back, straddled it like a mechanical bull, and just started stabbing. Every thrust went into that one wound I'd already opened, and I churned its insides into what can only be described as blended meat smoothie. But this thing would not die. It was spinning in circles like a demonic carousel, trying to bite me from the front and whip me with its tail from behind. It caught me twice. My shin got scraped raw, and I nearly got lassoed off its back by that tail. But through what I can only call ugly but effective footwork, I stayed mounted, welded to this snake's back like I was bolted on. Its strength was fading, though. The tail swings were getting slower, softer, weaker. The snake equivalent of running out of battery. You think your life is tougher than steel rebar? Let's find out. 2 more stabs punched clean through its body. And finally, that massive head dropped to the ground with a thud. But I wasn't taking chances. I twisted the blade sideways and carved 2 massive gashes on either side of its body. Only after seeing those wounds confirmed did I believe this nightmare noodle was actually dead. I was completely out of gas. Every muscle was screaming. But I knew this was not the place to rest. The blood smell would attract every predator on the mountain. Wolves, leopards, bears, and those terrifying tigers. Staying here was basically ordering myself on a delivery menu. I tied a rope through the gash in the snake's body, strapped the other into my waist, and started dragging it downhill. Now here's where my oxygen-deprived brain made a critical error. I thought I'd be pulling the snake. Wrong. Snakes are slippery. The second we hit a grassy slope, that dead python turned into a waterslide passenger. It started sliding downhill, and suddenly it was pulling me. Every patch of grass became a slip-and-slide. The snake would go whoosh down the slope, and I'd get yanked after it like a human water ski with no boat. I fell so many times I literally lost count. I tumbled, rolled, bounced, and face-planted my way down that entire mountain. No broken bones. But my face looked like I'd lost a boxing match against the mountain itself. Bruised nose, swollen cheeks, skin scraped off in places I didn't know I had skin. The good news, I was alive. No tigers, no wolves, no bears showed up for the free snake buffet. And I'd brought back a genuine monster, nearly 8 meters long, over 100 pounds of pure python. Only question, could you eat this thing? I'd eaten snakes before, but nothing this massive. I had zero idea if giant python meat was edible or poisonous. The skin, though, that was definitely valuable. Belts, shoes, medicine. Money waiting to be peeled off. I rested at the base of the mountain, collected my soul from wherever it had scattered, and started dragging the snake toward the village. Sun was completely gone. Not even a sliver of orange on the horizon. Then, right at the edge of the forest, I spotted something that made me grip my knife tighter. A gray figure, standing on the path, shaped like an animal, but upright like a person, about the height of a small child. The villagers always said this mountain got weird after dark. Even lifetime hunters refused to stay overnight. I'd listened to their warnings and filed them under superstition, probably. But staring at this shadowy figure in the fading twilight, I was suddenly a lot more open-minded about the supernatural. The sun just went down, and these things were already clocking in for the night shift. I switched my knife to my right hand, walked forward, slow, heavy steps, ready for anything. The figure's face came into focus. A weasel, standing straight up like a tiny furry person. Oh, it's you. I've been looking for you all day. I swung my knife without a millisecond of hesitation. 300 coins. Ching. Why was this weasel standing there like a creepy statue? No idea. Don't care. It could have been meditating, praying, doing yoga, or trying to ask for a title. That folk legend about weasels becoming spirits by getting humans to acknowledge them. Whatever it was doing, it was now doing it in the afterlife. I hung the nearly decapitated weasel on a tree branch to drain the blood, wiped the blade with dirt so I wouldn't stain my clothes, then strapped the weasel to my belt and dragged the snake home. In the village, farmers were trudging back from the fields with their tools. These people worked from before sunrise to after sunset, hungry nearly every day, skipping 3 or 4 meals out of 5. If hard work made people rich, they'd be the wealthiest humans on earth. But it doesn't, and they weren't. They spotted me and slowed down, curious eyes everywhere. Wuji, did you eat the mountain god? It ran away, I lied without blinking. I was worried they'd come after me for killing their local deity. Better to play dumb. You little punk, killing a mountain god is a sin. You need to go apologize at the temple before it punishes the whole VLL. The man's lecture died in his throat. He'd just noticed what was dragging behind me. That's A python that was about to become a dragon. You. How did you? He couldn't even finish his sentences. His brain was visibly malfunctioning. Everyone crowded around. Nobody was listening to me anymore. They were all staring at the snake. Good Lord, this thing must be over 100 pounds. More than that. Look, it's got little horns on its head. It was literally about to transform into a dragon. How did this idiot kill something like this? Look at the neck wound. He basically turned its insides into paste. Just stabbed it until it stopped existing. Then someone said the perfect thing. Good thing Yuan Lauer isn't here. If he saw what this kid did to a dragon snake's neck, he'd stop messing with him real quick. If Wuji can turn a python's throat into ground meat, imagine what he'd do to a human neck. I savored that comment. Beautiful. Chef's kiss. Of course, Yuan Lauer chose exactly that moment to wander over. He'd been skulking around my house again, because naturally he had nothing better to do, and came to see what the crowd was about. He heard every word. His face went dark. He snorted loudly. Let him try stabbing me. Does he think Yuan Jinbao grew up drinking piss? Tough words from a man with 2 black eyes and a face that still looked like someone used it as a drum. I didn't say a word to Yuan Lauer's tough guy act. I just raised my knife. This family heirloom, the blade of tetanus and broken dreams, had finally earned its stripes today. Soaked in python blood and weasel guts, it was radiating pure murder energy. The thing looked like it had just come back from a horror movie audition. Yuan Lauer saw that knife and immediately remembered this morning, when I threw it at his head. A chill crawled up his spine so fast you could practically see the goosebumps forming in real time. He was scared. I knew he was scared. But there were villagers watching, and he was the village chief's little brother, so he had an image to maintain. He snorted dramatically, flicked his sleeve like a discount aristocrat, and walked away. The first few steps were solid, dignified, controlled. Then once he thought he was far enough away, those legs started pumping. Full competitive speedwalker form. Arms swinging, hips rotating, absolutely terrified I was going to use his spine as target practice again. All bark. Zero bite. Pathetic. But I knew he wasn't done scheming. In his little rat brain, he was probably already planning how to use Shen Yue, the psycho killer concubine, against me. Get her to murder me so he could swoop in on San Yang. The man had 1 brain cell, and it was entirely devoted to being disgusting. I watched him scurry off and laughed. Useless trash. Then a village woman approached. Wuji, you selling that snake meat? My kids haven't tasted meat in months. Selling. But, can you actually eat this thing? I genuinely didn't know. She blinked. You don't know? Nope, she laughed. Just give me a piece. It's snake meat. Worst case it tastes bad. It won't kill anyone. I cut off a palm-sized chunk, about a pound. 3 coins, that's too much. I just need a little, for the kids' porridge. I cut the piece into 3. She picked up all 3, felt each one, examined the texture, compared the weights, and finally selected, surprise, the biggest one. Handed me 1 coin. I didn't complain about her being cheap. Tax season was bleeding everyone dry. I understood. What I did mind was the handling. These 3 pieces of meat were clearly different sizes. A blind person could tell which was biggest. But she had to pick them all up with her dirty, just finished farm work hands and fondle each piece like she was shopping for melons. Lady, this isn't the 2 ounces of flesh on your chest. Squeezing them isn't going to make them more enjoyable. I want some too. Another woman jumped in. Take it, I said, holding out the remaining 2 pieces. She grabbed them, turned them over, inspected them like a jeweler examining diamonds, then said, Can you cut me a fresh piece? These are dirty now. You 2 made them dirty. If you don't buy them, I'm losing money. Crazy person logic. Can't argue with it. Won't apologize for it. That's no way to do business. How am I supposed to know if the meat's good without touching it? Her voice went up about 3 decibels. I lifted the knife slightly. Just a tiny adjustment. Very casual. Very not threatening. Very absolutely threatening. She looked at the knife. Looked at the meat. Looked at the knife again. She shut up, grabbed a piece, threw 1 coin at me, and speed walked away with her friend. From a distance, I heard them trash-talking me. The language was colorful, very creative, the kind of profanity that would make a sailor blush. Keep talking, and I'll dig up your family graves tomorrow, I yelled. The gossip stopped instantly. Footsteps doubled in speed. Doors slammed shut. Being a crazy person was developing unexpected perks. I could say literally anything, and people just had to deal with it. It was becoming genuinely enjoyable. Then a middle-aged guy strolled over with a big grin. Wuji, don't waste energy on those brainless women. Give me 5 pounds. And don't worry, this meat is delicious. Snake soup is a legendary dish. This was one of my distant uncles. I couldn't remember his actual name for the life of me. I just knew everyone called him Chin the Mule. Why he was called the Mule, I had no idea, but the nickname had a suspicious energy. Like there was a story behind it that nobody told in polite company. Uncle, you've had python before? I asked while cutting. Once. When I was a little kid. Your grandfather caught one. Back then taxes weren't so crushing and everyone had enough to eat. Your grandpa gave every relative family a piece. I still remember that taste. He smiled at the memory. I cut him a generous portion, probably 6 or 7 pounds. Without a scale, I couldn't be precise, so I erred on the side of giving more. This is too much. At least 1 pound extra. He weighed it in his hands, counted out 18 coins, and handed them over with a grin. You little punk, just cost me 3 extra coins. I charged you for 5 pounds, I protested. I wasn't trying to cheat him. I know, he said. But times are hard for everyone, and harder for you. Stop being generous. Most people in this village don't deserve it. Half of them ate your grandfather's food when times were good. Then the second your family fell on hard times, they vanished. The ones throwing rocks while you were drowning? Plenty of those. Real talk from a real one. I'm mentally filed Uncle Mule under. Actually decent human being. The mule talks tougher during the day than he sounds at night. Someone yelled from behind. That's veteran wisdom right there, little Wuji. Give me 5 pounds too. Cut it at 5, and keep the blade straight. Uncle Mule's eyes narrowed. Even on my quietest night, I last longer than your 2-pump performance. I don't need to perform. The man fired back with a booming laugh. I make my wife do all the screaming. Uncle Mule's face went dark. He lunged at the guy. You donkey-brained, frog-faced degenerate. I will reorganize your face. Stand still. The man bolted, turning back to yell at me mid-sprint. Wuji, save my meat. The unmarried mule is in heat. He can't tell humans from livestock anymore. I burst out laughing. These filthy, vulgar, beautiful villagers. Embarrassingly, I couldn't remember this guy's name either. Just his nickname. Bearballs. Yeah, Bearballs. Even worse than the mule. If I said that out loud, I'd get beaten into next week. I grabbed some grass, threaded the pre-cut meat, and hung it on the snake skeleton like a bizarre meat Christmas tree. More villagers trickled in. 1 pound here, 2 pounds there. I kept selling until it was too dark to see my own hands. And somehow, through dozens of tiny transactions, I'd made nearly 100 more coins. 100 coins from snake meat I wasn't even sure was edible 2 hours ago. Sold at 3 coins per pound to villagers who couldn't afford more. Nobody got rich tonight, but a lot of kids were going to have meat in their porridge for the first time in months. And my tax gap just shrank from 580 to somewhere that was starting to feel actually manageable. Between the weasel bounty tomorrow and whatever else the mountain decided to throw at me, I might actually survive this. I thought Bearballs had ditched his 5 pounds of snake meat. But right as I reached my gate, he came sprinting out of the darkness, face bruised, gasping for air. WJI, my meat. Quick. The mule went berserk. I'm about to get my butt kicked tonight. He shoved 15 coins into my hand with trembling fingers. I handed over the meat. Want me to go talk to him? 2 grown men doing that to each other isn't healthy. Bearball stared at me for a solid 5 seconds. Then he howled with laughter. Well, well, well. Marriage really changes a man. Little Wuji's making adult jokes now. He shoved my shoulder playfully. Go mind your business. Who's doing what to whom is still undecided. The mule's actually quite pretty for a guy. I wouldn't mind. And just like that, my brain was contaminated. I now had a vivid mental image of Uncle Mule and Bearballs in shirtless combat that I would never, ever be able to delete. I needed brain bleach. Immediately, I pocketed the coins and dragged the massive python into my yard. The kitchen glowed with our one precious oil lamp. Sanyang and Xin Yue were sitting by the stove, peeling hemp fibers. In the big iron pot, a family heirloom that had survived 2 generations, deer bones were bubbling away, filling the whole house with the most incredible smell. Yeah, this era was garbage. My life was basically a dumpster fire with a tax deadline. But right now, this little kitchen, lit by firelight, with 2 beautiful women waiting for me, This was what happiness looked like. A wife and a concubine, both gorgeous and kind. Even in poverty, life had something worth fighting for. The gate creaked. Both women grabbed the lamp and came rushing out. Husband's back? Wuji, why so late today? Then they saw the snake. Sanyang jumped backward. Wuji, it's dead, right? Xin Yue, on the other hand, walked straight up to it and started measuring its body with her arm. Sister, it's definitely dead. He wouldn't be dragging it if it weren't. This snake is huge. I've never seen one this big. Its waist is thicker than mine. Your tiny waist doesn't beat anyone's. Sanyang laughed, walking closer. You need to eat more. I wanted to say, yes, eat more, but please keep the waist exactly as it is. Xin Yue's current waist was perfect, just the right size for two hands to grip firmly when applying force. Focus. Stay on topic. Good lord, this thing was about to become a dragon. Sanyang glanced at the snake's terrifying head and gasped. Wuji, why is everything you catch so bizarre? How did you even kill this? Wait, you're hurt. I chopped it. It didn't appreciate that. It was stronger than me. I fell down a few times. Scraped some skin off. Of course it didn't appreciate being chopped. Nobody would. She started checking my injuries immediately. Let me see how bad it is. I patted the weasel hanging from my belt. This one didn't mind at all. When I chopped him, he didn't make a sound. You actually found one? Sanyang was lifting my shirt to examine my wounds but paused in surprise. Ran into it on my way down. It was just standing on the path like it was waiting for me. So I obliged. That's too convenient, she frowned. After a thorough inspection, she exhaled with relief. It's just surface wounds, but there are a lot of them. No more mountain trips for a few days. Rest. Between this snake and the weasel, we should have enough for the taxes. And we have food now. Then she added, almost guiltily, I boiled the mountain god bones today. I know it's a mountain god, but those bones had so much good marrow. Throwing them away felt like a crime. I'd seen the pot. That was my plan all along. I'd left those bones specifically for her to cook. Hearing her justify eating them on her own was better than any persuasion I could have managed. The mountain lord gave them to us, I said casually. The mountain god wouldn't mind. She needed these little excuses. Her faith ran deep. Without a good reason, she'd eat the food but feel guilty for weeks. The tiger gave it to us. Story was basically a spiritual permission slip. She nodded softly and started untying the rope from my waist. What should we do with all this snake meat? Then she went full accountant mode. Keep a little for eating, sell the rest for grain. A snake this big should easily bring 400 or 500 coins. The weasel's already spoken for at 300. After taxes, we'd have 200 or 300 left over, enough for about 100 pounds of grain. I pulled out the coins from my village roadside sales. Already sold some at the gate. Count these. She settled under the lamp, counting coins one by one, her voice soft as cotton candy. How much per pound? Wuji, 3 coins. That's too cheap, sweetie. Snake meat is delicious. You should have charged at least as much as pork, she tutted gently, then immediately caught herself. But the fact that my Wuji can do business now is already wonderful. You did great. I knew it was cheap. But I hadn't even known if the stuff was edible when I was selling it. Hard to charge premium prices when your sales pitch is, it probably won't kill you. 113 coins. Wuji, that's a lot. She finished counting, beaming. 113. From just the neck portion of the snake. And she thought the whole thing would bring 400 or 500. She was lowballing it by at least half. But I kept quiet. Let her be pleasantly surprised tomorrow. Go rest. Watch the fire in the stove. You Wei and I will handle the snake, she said, pushing me toward the kitchen. No, I'll do it. You two aren't strong enough for this monster. After some back and forth, I won the argument. The snake was my kill, and it was too heavy for them anyway. Sanyang lit a fire in the yard for light, and she and Xin Yue assisted while I butchered the python. Slicing, portioning, separating skin from meat. The bathwater fire got demoted to, check on it when you remember. Our tiny yard smelled like a feast. Bone broth from the kitchen, fresh snake meat in the firelight, 2 women chattering softly while helping me work. Outside our wall, a shadow crept past in the darkness. It stopped, sniffed the air, the rich, meaty aroma floating over the fence. Then a voice, low and venomous, muttered from the shadows. Enjoying meat? Are we? I'll destroy your family sooner or later. Grind your bones to dust and feed them to the dogs. Yuan Lauer, ladies and gentlemen. Lurking outside my house at night, smelling my dinner, whispering death threats to himself like the world's most pathetic supervillain. Somewhere out there in the dark, a broke, beaten, sexually frustrated man with 2 black eyes was sniffing my cooking fumes and plotting murder. Sleep tight, buddy. Tomorrow I'm getting another weasel, paying my taxes, and there won't be a single thing you can do about it. I'd been in this body for several days now, and let me tell you something sad. I hadn't eaten a single full meal. Every dinner had been a teaser trailer, a sample platter, a cruel appetizer with no main course. But tonight was different. Deer bone stew. Big, meaty, marrow-filled bones swimming in clear broth. The only seasoning was salt. Literally just salt, but holy mother of flavor. I was dipping chunks of deer meat in salt crystals and experiencing what can only be described as a religious awakening in my mouth. Tender, rich, juicy, zero chewiness. Every bite was like silk sliding across my tongue. If someone had grabbed my head and started slapping me across the face to make me stop eating, I would have kept chewing. My jaw was on autopilot. Nothing short of death was stopping this meal. No wonder that rich guy at the market bought everything without haggling. Muntjac meat was on another level. If I ever got wealthy, I'd eat this stuff daily and never look at pork again. Tiger selected premium game meat. 5 stars. Would get mauled again. Eat more. I managed to say between bites, looking at my 2 women who were nibbling like polite little birds. Xin Yue had gnawed 1 bone and put her chopsticks down. 1 bone. Yue, eat, Sanyang urged. Look how skinny you are. We're family now, stop being polite. We have more bones in the kitchen, and this meat won't last in this heat anyway. If you don't eat it, it'll just go bad. Sister, I know a way to preserve meat, Yue offered helpfully. We can salt cure the bones. They'd last half a year. You just need about 3 pounds of salt and some spices. Sanyang's excitement died instantly. She handed Yue another bone and said flatly, Sweetie, even if you're full, please force yourself to eat more. We cannot afford salt. 3 pounds of salt is 360 coins. That's half our tax bill. And spices? Those are luxury goods. A tiny amount costs more than my organs. Yue went quiet. Then very softly, It's that expensive? She stared at the bone in her hand for a long moment, then picked it back up. I'll eat more then. My heart ached. This girl came from a wealthy family where spices were probably as common as air. She genuinely had no idea what things cost for regular people. Even after everything she'd suffered, dog kennels, starvation, attempted murder, she still didn't understand the simple arithmetic of poverty. She noticed her own ignorance, and it hurt her. You could see it on her face. This guilt, like her suffering hadn't taught her enough. Like she'd somehow failed at being poor correctly. Then she asked another innocent question. If spices are so expensive, why don't you sell your peppercorn trees? We do sell them, Sanyang laughed. Those trees are the only reason Wuji and I survived the last 2 years. 20 coins per pound on a good day, maybe 30. But peppercorns are light. The trees don't produce much. It's barely enough. Yue went back to eating in careful, measured bites. Just enough to not feel starving, then immediately stopping. Every meal was calculated. Every bite accounted for. She was rationing herself out of pure love for a family she joined 3 hours ago. After dinner, I lay in the yard, belly up, moonbathing. First time in this life I'd actually felt full. It was beautiful. The moon was beautiful. Life was briefly, momentarily, not terrible. Then I went to bed. From next door, splashing, giggling. Sanyang was giving Yue another mugwort bath. According to Sanyang's personal superstition handbook, Yue needed multiple spiritual cleansings to wash away all the bad luck from her past. I didn't understand the logic, but I fully supported the activity. Wash more. Wash often. Get nice and clean and soft and fragrant. And then the sound started. Splashing that was more than just splashing. Little gasps. Soft exclamations. The kind of noises that happen when someone is either scrubbing too hard or feeling too good. I lay in the dark, eyes wide open, listening to stereo bathing sounds coming through the thin wall, and my brain finally did a calculation it should have done hours ago. Wait a minute. I'm married. I sat bolt upright. I got married. Today. This was my wedding night. And I was lying here alone on a wooden bed like a forgotten potato while two women splashed around next door. They'd been calling me husband all day. We had official papers. And instead of doing what married people do on their first night, I had just crawled into bed and closed my eyes like a senior citizen after bingo night. What was wrong with my brain? I leaped off the bed, shoved my feet into shoes, and scrambled to their door. Knocked politely. I want to wash too. Sure, sweetie, just wait. We'll be done soon, and I'll wash you. Sanyang called through the door. No, I want to wash together, I yelled. As a certified idiot, I couldn't just shout, wedding night. That would be too sophisticated. Had to use the bath as a Trojan horse for my actual intentions. Since when are you so fussy? Go lie down. We'll be right there. Sanyang sounded amused. Then, from inside the room, Shen Youwei's quiet voice floated out like an angel delivering the truth. Sister, I think husband wants to consummate the marriage. My lips curled into the biggest grin of my entire existence. Youwei, my girl, my sweet, pure, beautiful, perceptive little genius. She got it. She understood the assignment. I could have kissed her through the door. Oh, Sanyang gasped. I completely forgot. My grin collapsed. She forgot. She forgot our wedding night. The most important night of a marriage, and she just didn't remember it was happening. My ego took a direct hit. Critical damage. Emotional HP at 0. Then I heard whispering through the door. Not to me. About me. But with my situation right now, and your body being so weak. How would this even work? Sanyang whispered to Yue. Traditionally, tonight should be yours. Tomorrow would be mine, Yue whispered back. It's not about who goes first. Neither of us can do it right now. I'm on my monthly cycle, and you're so weak a strong breeze could knock you over. Monthly cycle. The universe was mocking me. Maybe we delay a few days? Sanyang continued. I'll go sleep in his room tonight to at least establish the formality. Yue hesitated. I could probably push through. That kind of thing won't actually kill me, even in my condition. Absolutely not, Sanyang said firmly. That drains your vital energy. Force it now, and you'll be sick for months. Not worth it. Rest a few days. I'll talk to Wuji. He's stubborn sometimes, but he listens. I stood outside that door in the moonlight, listening to two women discuss the logistics of sleeping with me like it was a scheduling problem, and realized that the universe had pulled the cruelest prank imaginable. Wedding night. 2 wives. 0 availability. One was on her period. The other was too malnourished to survive the experience. I'd gone from, definitely happening tonight, to, postponed indefinitely, in the span of 30 seconds, and I hadn't even gotten to state my case. Somewhere in heaven, the god of transmigration was laughing.